My doo-doos. Okay, how we doing this? Who wants in first? What are we talking about today? All of you fuckers email me all the time because you want to come on and you want to fucking talk about something. Well, here's your chance. What do you got? Does the winner of the call-in debate? There's no winner. Fuck. Should I have people email me and then line them up for this? I don't know how to do this. Okay. I have a subscriber-only room in Discord. All right, show up if you want to talk.
Oh yeah.
What do you want?
What's up, my dude?
What's your malfunction? My
I don't have a
physics friend.
malfunction. I want to have a conversation.
Uh-oh. About what?
I want to talk about Bernie Trump strategy 2020, my dude.
Okay, hit me up.
So I mean, you paid close attention to the campaign in 2016, and I did too. But the thing I remember the day of the campaign the most, the day of the fucking vote, was that if you asked anyone on the street, like, what does Trump want to do?
Mm-hmm.
They'd be able to tell you, like, oh, he wants to build a wall, he wants to ban all Muslims, he wants to do this and that, and all those things are stupid, but like he got the message out.
Here we go.
And I think which is, I don't know, maybe like I don't think it's part of his genius, but like the way his cheese brain behaves allowed that to happen.
Sure.
How do I convince someone that I know who does not think global warming will affect
I
the
remember one thing
Principality of Sealand?
Wait, what was the last part thing you said? Sorry.
Like I don't think Hillary did the same thing. Like I think she actually did the opposite.
Oh no, Hillary's messaging was fucking horrible. Bernie's messaging was really good. If you ask people what Hillary wanted to do, they don't know. But if you ask people what Bernie wanted to do, like, oh, free school and shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah, all I remember from Hillary was I'm with her and, I'm chilling in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah.
So I guess that leaves. So like in that case, it's pretty clear that one side has like a big advantage and the other side has like a fucking deficit.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I think Bernie's really good at is taking fucking like a complicated story and then boiling it down to like a sentence so he can sell it well. Like, oh, the economy doesn't work for the 99%; it works for the 1%, or whatever. But it's not clear to me if having Bernie's message, if being able to get his message out well, function. I mean, obviously it helps him, but it's not clear to me if it's going to win.
No, I think having like bite-sized, simple messages, I think is really, really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess because that's what it seems to me to be like I mean, it's hard for me to really say because I'm a leftist person. So, like, yeah, of course, every time you hear him say something, it's like, fuck yeah, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Tell that fucking guy, like, tell that pharmaceutical rep to go eat shit out of my asshole. But, like, so, like, anytime he says something, I love it. But it's not clear to me if that, like, so I think his greatest hurdle is he has to get the message out. But it's not, I mean, in a post-2016 world, it's hard to know what his real hurdles are.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said is fine. I think that if he stays on point with his messaging like he did before, he'll probably be okay. I mean, Bernie's messaging was very similar to Trump's messaging: simple, bite-sized slogans, free healthcare for all, free education for all. I think people like to hear that. The 1%, fuck everybody, is like that's a good rhetoric, good political strategy.
Yeah, and you don't think? I mean, one problem that a lot of people seem to have with it. Journalists most especially, is that they're so policy oriented, which is probably a good thing, but they're like incredibly skeptical of it.
I mean, Americans don't give a fuck about policy. I mean, like Trump ran on no fucking. I can't even think of any policy that Trump ran on. I don't even know if he knows what policy means. We had build the wall. We had
ban all Muslims.
Ban Muslims. We had
deals. Which
renegotiate.
It's not really clear.
Yeah, Trump didn't lay out any specific. Trump didn't know anything about any policy that he'd be laying out. Everything was like a vague, vacuous claim: tax reform, immigration reform. Like he had fuck all for policies. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think Americans really care that much about that shit.
Well, in Trump's case, like if Trump's base listens to him say things, and then like some journalist says, "Oh, this is never going to work," they're going to be pissed off. It's just a journalist who they don't know anything. But like in the case of Democrats, that's not necessarily true, right?
Wait, what? Say that again.
Like, okay, if I'm a Trump person, and I love when Trump says lock her up. It's like, yeah, Trump's gonna throw Hillary Clinton in jail. Like, I'll think it'll actually work. And then some journalists will say lock her up is stupid, and I'll say fuck journalists, they don't know anything.
Yeah, that's what Trump does.
Trump's base is kind of anti-media.
Yeah, well, anti-bad media, right? Throughout the campaign trail and then even today, like Trump constantly discourages media that says bad things about him, but if they say good things about him, then they're good. What was that? Fuck. What was that one quote that he said? It was either him or Sarah said like the
people
news
who criticize me are
no.
media.
It was like the stories are the media is fake or the news is fake, but the numbers are real or something. It was something like that in reference to like.
Okay.
Yeah,
I remember they said that about this employment too. Where like when Obama had unemployment numbers, they were fake.
But now they're real. Yeah, they do that shit all the time. The news is whatever they want it to be.
But it's clear, like I think it's clear in Trump's case that the reason he can get away with shit like that is because he has power and legitimacy from his base, and his base doesn't care.
Sure.
So like as long as if you can get up on stage and say anything and people will say, "Oh hell yeah," then what you're saying doesn't have to be right or wrong. It can be completely shitty. But Bernie's base and like the Democratic base more generally really does care what journalists think and like whether things are true or not.
I disagree. I think Democrats want the snazzy one-liners just as much as Republicans do. Look at like the shit on like with Occupy Wall Street. Right? Businesses shouldn't be people. Like, well, really? Well, what kind of tax entity should we treat them as? Like, I mean, I just mean they like shit. Like, I don't know. I think that like Democrats. I think that everybody that's not very like politically informed like kind of wants like the easy like one-liner. You know, like down with Citizens United. No, blah blah blah. Down like all of these positions are actually incredibly fucking complicated, but people want to take like simple, easy, like one-liner answers to a lot of these things. I think that's pretty common amongst all people.
Is it something that's true for you as well?
No, I mean not for me, but I mean I have a job where I get to spend all day like reading about this shit, so we can dig in a little bit deeper.
You're a coastal elite now.
Something like that. So. Well, no. I mean I would say like most like people that are like watching me or doing this, like if you're involved in like hardcore like reading shit online, like you're far outside of like the normal average voter, right? Like like well, people that are posting like hardcore policy analysis on Reddit are not like the average American that's voting, I think.
Well, it's not even that. I mean I have that same feeling too a lot. So like if you take healthcare, I think healthcare is the best example because people inside the US talk about healthcare in a certain way, but if you happen to read like a few studies on healthcare, you'd be like, oh shit, our conversation is like totally wrong from what it should be.
Sure.
So like in my case, I mean, like I have scientific training, so like, yeah, the first thing I want to do when someone asks about healthcare is like, well, what does the literature say? And then when you say like, oh, healthcare systems are a well-studied thing, and it turns out in this country we pay a fuck ton for it, and like our outcomes are actually nowhere near what you would expect them to be.
Yeah, they're like
given how much we pay for
them. With a lot of other countries, yeah.
Yeah, but especially prior to Bernie, like Bernie said that a few times, but it's like there's no reason for Hillary Clinton not to know that. There's no reason, like Jeb Bush should know that. Like all these people should fucking know that stuff. But you can get away without knowing that stuff and without talking about it because most Americans don't know about it. And but I think this is kind of my hot take, I guess. But I think what that reflects is that there's people in this country who have a job of figuring out what's important and then telling everyone else about it, right? In general, like that's one of the things the media is supposed to do. But they've never said the most basic facts about healthcare that anyone knows.
Yeah, it just very rarely happens. People just don't usually care about that shit that much. I mean, it's sad, but I mean, look at like when the only time I think throughout all of the debates that I ever heard somebody take anyone to task for saying something that was just unabashedly stupid was when Trump said that he was going to cut the EPA to pay for like our fucking like deficit or some shit. I don't remember. It was some massive fucking or to like shore up like Medicaid or some shit. And the Medicaid shortfall is like hundreds of billions of dollars or something. And like the EPA's annual operating budget is like
zeros to make it happen.
Yeah, the EPA's annual operating budget was like $8 billion. It's like not even close. And Christopher Wallace actually like nailed him to the wall on that. But then they like moved on in like 2 seconds. So like, yeah, people just don't really give a fuck.
Yeah, and do you think? I mean, in my view, I think that reflects a serious failing of the media and nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what it is. I mean, you could argue it's a failing of the media. You could also argue the media is a reflection of the people. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Fox News is the most popular media in the U.S. for a reason. Like, people like that shit.
Yeah, okay. I mean, because I think this stuff like isn't hard. Like I think if you have a ninth grader write a report on healthcare systems, they'll know more than the average American. Like,
yeah, but that's not how people generally make decisions, right? People usually go from a much more like intuitive, emotional kind of place than like a fact-driven, logical one, right? Like most people are more narrative-driven. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think, well, that's what I tell. That's that's like one way that gets kind of weird when you especially when you talk to like a lot of mainstream left people, is that they seem to think that Trump won because of like, this is kind of like Hillary Clinton's view. Like, oh, Trump won because of the Russians, or because of, it's easy to lie to people, and like everyone's a racist or whatever. But like, I think what is really happening is that at the end of the day, politics is not about logic and reason. It's about, like identity and power.
Norchkander is now a tier 1 subscriber.
Logic and reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably a huge problem.
Wait, say that last bit again? Sorry.
I think that's probably a huge problem, right? Like, I don't think it should be about identity and power and money. It should be about what's the best policy for everyone and how do we pursue it.
Oh, sure. But again, like, how people arrive at that point is like very, very different from one person to the next, right?
I mean, in how things work, yeah, but I don't think that's like, I think everyone wants to. I actually think that for a number of people that kind of don't have the same premises that like I would have, for instance.
No, people generally come from the same areas. They just have people's ability to like self-moderate or self-reflect, like to understand if they're being reasonable or rational, is typically very, 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 very low. And then the way that people arrive at good conclusions is also like very different, right? So like maybe you, like a science-minded person or whatever, if you're thinking like, okay, well, does immigration hurt our country or not hurt our country? Like the things that you're going to think of is like, okay, well, what does like a meta-analysis say on like impact of wages from immigration? Or what does the FBI or the DOJ or the Bureau of Justice Statistics say about like immigrant crime, right? Like these might be the things. Or like what is the impact on the, fiscal budgets on different states? Like these are the things you might think of. Whereas another person might think of, well, I have a friend who lost a job and now I know that a Mexican's working there. Or I have, I heard a story from, on Fox News. I heard like 5 different stories about how immigrants were, raping people in Cologne or some shit in Germany, right? So, I mean, like these are the ways, these people, you don't talk to these people with stats and data. They don't care. In fact, a lot of these people will just, I've had people say it to my face, actually, are saying things like I don't trust the data, or I don't trust the numbers, or I don't care about this particular thing because I had this one experience. And it's like you have to communicate to these people in a different way. You can't like just the raw data stats and shit don't do anything,
All right. So what do you think is the most effective way to like communicate with someone like that?
You have to communicate with them in their language, right? You have to tell them stories that would convince them otherwise, right?
Okay. I was just remembering that debate where you just made up some bullshit.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the conversation I had with the Carrie or Kara or whatever is like a really good example of that, right? She didn't believe anything I told her until I started making up stories of hypothetical friends I had, and then by the end of the conversation, she came over almost completely to my side.
Oh, how embarrassing. Okay, and then I guess the kind of meme question I have is,
thanks for subbing.
So I watched part of this Jesse Lee Peterson gun debate.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, where was your binder full of information, homie?
Yeah, I didn't know that was gonna be a thing. But...
Yeah. What if you didn't have fucking a binder with little pages in plastic covers and bullshit graphs that don't say what it's supposed to say?
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, plus when I watched it, at least, they would occasionally, I don't know who his editor is, but they would occasionally cut the video to just show the graph.
Yeah, they did that on like all of them, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, if you don't have graphs, they don't show any fjords.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. It was funny to watch, though. So, yeah. All right. And see this dude in New Zealand get egged in the fucking face?
No, but I've read about it.
Yeah. So I guess the story was that this guy was kind of blaming on immigrants, and some kid showed up and fucking threw an egg at his face. And then a bunch of cops showed up, and he said, "Here come the bacon for the eggs," which was a nice meme. But I think there's something kind of scary in that like that a kid shows that he's essentially committing some kind of a violence against a political person,
mm-hmm.
which is really scary, but his violence happens to be like basically harmless.
Well, I mean, it's still violent, but I mean, yeah, it's whether you have to argue whether or not it's justified, I guess, right? I mean, we all agree that violence is justified sometimes, so the argument comes down to whether or not you believe this case of violence is justified.
Yeah, okay. Do you think it's justified in this case?
I mean, I would say it is, yeah, but...
Do you think it would be justified in the case of some United States politicians, too?
I mean, I would argue it is, yeah.
Oh, which ones?
I mean, it depends on what your position is.
Okay, I'm looking for
my stuff is over like my stuff is over like white nationalist shit or whatever, not like you're some loser fucking LARPing tanky dipshit who wants to kill capitalists. So I mean, I'm looking more like people like Steve King in Iowa, stuff like that. This is not a call to violence, but I'm saying like I can understand that some people could like could justify certain types of acts against people that like call for like ethnic cleansing and shit like that.
All right, sure. Which, to my knowledge, besides Steve King, hasn't happened with elected officials yet at the federal level.
With elected officials, probably not. Oh, also people related to healthcare stuff as well. You might be able to make arguments there. If you're somebody that is literally living on like the ACA and like the Republicans defund it, like I don't know if you have a case there or not.
Yeah, I mean, short of, I guess the only thing that sticks out is that 1488 shit in the DHS document that came out, but that's obviously like dog whistling of some form. Okay, well, I think that's it for me. Good luck, buddy.
All right, what do you want?
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Wonderful. All right. I'd like to talk to you about the fucking Count Dankula debate, which I saw, and the data collection thing, because I have a claim. Hold on, let me just make you a bit louder. I have a claim. My claim is that that debate was a shit show because of you.
Okay, why is that?
1 second. All right. So you went in
Destiny
with
got
Count
it in this
Dankula,
debate.
and the guy thought that the fucking data collection was like, I saw YouTube videos, so therefore I know my shit, right? And you went, I got actual fucking data, so therefore I know my shit.
Okay.
Okay, so that debate spiraled out of control when Count Dankula didn't understand what you meant with data collection, right? And he didn't understand what... Oh, fuck, I don't have the actual quotes here. But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my claim is that the debate spiraled out of control because you refused to explain to him how data collection actually works, and you just presumed that he knew.
So one, okay, I'm pretty sure I said enough to try to do it, but two, I would have to go back and watch it, but I'm pretty sure I tried to explain it a couple times, but two, like, this is some very, very, very elementary shit. Like, if you don't understand why watching a bunch of videos isn't a good way to get a comprehensive view of a very complicated issue, I don't think I can cover that much ground in a short debate. We're like 6 hours into discussions on numbers and data collecting, and it would take a lot of time to get somebody up to speed to have that conversation. Like, I don't care. Like, I can't do it. It would be like if somebody called in to debate me about the cost of healthcare in the United States, and they didn't understand like 1 + 1 is 2. Like, is it my fault that we're talking about like billions of dollars if they don't understand like the smaller numbers? I mean, like, I could go back and like try to like count on like a number line and tell them like, well, hey, this is something. But like, I don't know if I care to do that. Like,
sure, but I could make the argument that that's kind of hypocritical because you accuse people like Jordan Peterson to have a responsibility towards the community and not fulfilling that responsibility by dog whistling out of the fucking ass. And then again, you don't go the extra mile and you don't do the effort to convince people like Count Dankula that their ideas of data collection are stupid, and therefore his fan base stays uneducated.
My fan base, we talk about responsible data collecting and everything all the time here. We do it a lot.
No, not your fan base. Count Dankula's fan base.
I don't, firstly, my issue with Jordan Peterson is that he makes these ghost claims. My issue with Jordan Peterson is he leads people into really bad thought without either denouncing it or supporting it. That's my problem with Jordan Peterson. I don't think by me not explicitly teaching somebody like 5th grade stats that I'm leading them to a bad place. My audience knows it, and most people that I talk to know it. And I think I talked a little bit with Dankula to try to explain it, but I don't think I have a responsibility to teach them, like 5th grade number information. I don't think that falls on me. And I don't even think I could realistically do it in a conversation like that. Like, he's never going to come with me for that conversation, if for no other reason, because it would feel extremely condescending the entire time for me to sit there and break down like incredibly basic concepts to him. And
that's kind of my overarching point, because Why aren't you condescending then? Why aren't you trying to win? Why are you trying to
I mean, I already come across as horrendously condescending to most people that I talk to. I don't know if having like a basic stats class for somebody is going to help my case at all. And I don't even think it's going to do anything. I don't think they'll care. I think we'll just get bogged down in a discussion related to that stuff, and it'll just end the same way that it did before.
I mean, you could be a lot more aggressive with your debating style. I think we can all agree on that, right?
I mean, kind of, but I mean, we go back and forth. I don't know what works the best. If you watched me like 3 years ago, I was insanely fucking aggressive. I would shout down people, call them fucking retarded, like immediately for saying really dumb shit. But I'd try to be more patient so that I have more so that I have more airtime with the person. Two, so that they don't lock up as much, and so that we can actually engage in like a conversation longer, so that I can convert more of their people. I mean, if you want to see me being like really aggressive, look at the conversation I had with Naked Ape. I cut that off in like 5 or 10 minutes because it was so over the top fucking stupid. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, sure, I watched that. Yeah,
I don't know if that necessarily gets me anywhere with people like this. Also, from an optics point of view, letting the other person be really aggressive and me be really calm is a really good outlook for me as well, because usually conservatives claim the opposite. So like, for instance, my conversation with Dick Masterson or No Bullshit, I think I looked really good in both of those conversations because I was super chill and the other person was insanely fucking triggered, which is normally...
For the opposing party? You think that the fan base of No Bullshit thought of you of being like successful in that debate?
I think that...
I mean, you know, Republicans, they only go for who wins, who's got
no. I think for the Dick Masterson and the No Bullshit, the overwhelming majority of their fan base is going to agree with them, but a lot of people that were on the fringes or in the middle definitely thought it looked better. Oh yeah, for Dick Masterson especially, and for No Bullshit as well. Yeah, because I religiously fucking read the comments I shot on the videos. A lot of them get buried, but definitely there are fans that watch those videos that thought that he was way out of his fucking league. For both of them. So yeah, I thought that was good.
All right, sure. So you make the argument that being reasonable and being, I guess, how do I say that? Kind of helping the other person, helping your counterpart in his way of arguing would not benefit your case, but you also don't want to be aggressive. So otherwise the fan base of that person. So you basically are addressing the intelligent people of Count Dankula's fan base in that case.
Wait, what?
Like, the stupid ones in Count Dankula's fan base are not gonna agree with you that YouTube videos are not data collection unless you explain it to them.
No, I don't think that's what I'm saying. Me explaining it to them isn't going to change their mind on that, right? These are people that are fundamentally lacking like critical basic information about how numbers work. I don't think I can cover that much ground in a 1 hour conversation.
But then are you just stuck then?
Yeah, welcome to my fucking life talking to these
Oh,
people.
fuck.
I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, that's kind of how it ends up, right? But so I mean, like but again, with Count Dankula, I'm pretty sure that I did a few times like mention like this is why this doesn't work. This is why, you know, you can't collect data this way. I think I said it a few times, but I mean, I didn't walk back to like the very beginning of like how numbers work to try to like build up that argument. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think very many people would be along for that ride.
Sure, because it would be too much effort, basically.
Well, because it would be too much effort, but not just because it would be too much effort, but all that effort would be wasted because people wouldn't care. I don't think to have that kind of conversation.
Have you tried it yet? Like actually go in and try it out with someone who's...
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of done it in the past, but like people are... The problem is like, if you show up to debate somebody, it shouldn't be like... Did you ever watch me play StarCraft?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, when you watch people play StarCraft or even like MOBAs, like you're not watching anything new happen, right? Two people are going into a game and they're playing each other, and all the moves and all the abilities and all the builds and everything you've seen have all been rehearsed a million times before. And that's what a debate should be like. If somebody is like fundamentally altering your worldview in the middle of a debate, you are so far fucking lost that you need to like fuck off immediately. Like you can no longer have that conversation. It's way, way, way out of your league. So like, for instance, when I was talking to Ryan Dawson, I realized like pretty quickly that I was way out of my depth for Middle Eastern stuff. So at that point, like the debate is over. I can't sit there and try to argue with Ryan Dawson about Middle Eastern shit when it's very clear that his depth of knowledge like so vastly outweighs mine. So if I'm talking to somebody and it's clear that they're having a fundamental misunderstanding of how like a chart works, right? Somebody like Sargon that's too stupid to read a graph, or somebody like Count Dankula or Lawrence Southern who's too stupid to know how data collection works, right? I can't sit there and explain to them something that would fundamentally alter their entire view of the world and then expect to have a conversation after. One, because most people won't care to engage with it, and two, because it's just not possible to do that on the fly, you know?
And you don't see yourself of having the responsibility to kind of convince their fan bases at least that they're stupid.
I don't think I would have the opportunity to do that. That's what I'm saying. They're not going to sit there and let me talk for an hour about like how you collect data is like the point I'm getting at, right?
All right. So the only way to kind of fix that would be like to have a moderator sitting there and let everyone talk.
Yeah, something like that maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I tried to make a more aggressive chat. I failed.
Okay, I love you, buddy. Be careful.
Love you, buddy.
What do you want?
Am I in here?
What do you mean, are you in here? You in the fucking room says subscribers only. Yeah, of course you're fucking in here.
Okay, sorry. I was listening to your stream too. Wow.
Big mistake.
Okay.
What do you want?
Okay, so the one real good question I have is a couple days ago you were talking to the Earthworm Jim guy.
Yeah.
And I came into that when you were talking about abortion.
Oh,
and
God.
yeah, and so I only came in about halfway through, so hopefully you didn't like go over this. And I feel like the guy had no clue what he was talking about, so maybe he didn't make these points. But are you actually on the is your like abortion? Have you gone to like the like dependency memes for arguing for abortion?
No, I just did it against that guy because I thought he was dumb.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean that's a little okay. That's a little different then, because I was gonna say there's like a couple pretty like obvious points to make that well, I mean, if it was actually like your opinion on that, then maybe
What are the
some
obvious
counter.
points? Let's hear them anyway.
Well, okay. So the first one is that if it's okay to like abort a child because they're dependent on the mother, like is it okay to abort like a 1-year-old who's, or maybe you can't like abort them, right? But like kick them out of your house and say
Yeah,
like,
the counter to that would be there's a difference between a physical dependency and like a non-physical one.
Yeah, but that's like a pretty, I mean, like either way, it's like time, resources, effort, or whatever spent by the parents.
No, there's a pretty clear difference here, I think. I don't think people would be okay if the federal government showed up at your house to enslave you to work 1 day a week. Do you think people would be okay with that?
Well, no, but
I mean, the government does that because they tax you like 20% of your income.
Yeah, I was gonna say taxes is fine,
but like, I mean, like these are two very different things. You
get a job anyways, yeah.
Well, but these are two like
I don't know.
You don't know, so you think it would be the same if you had to show up at like a federal government office and be a slave for 1 day of the week? You think that's the same as being taxed on your income?
I mean, in the sense that they're getting some sort of resources from you, but like we allow you, to like pick a job or not have a job if you don't want. I mean, that's not really a choice, but that's like a.
Okay,
like,
but so then everybody that gets a job has to go and do it, but the people that don't get a job don't have to slave for the government.
Well, but you just do it at your job. It's like I mean, like the collection method is different. I mean, I think
I think it feels
overall,
like you're being reductive past points that are like pretty important to consider, right? Like most people, if you were to go up to somebody and say like, "Hey, I'm going to give you this kid that you have to take care of for 9 months," and you have to do it, people would be like pretty upset and be like, "Oh fuck, like this is shit." Versus if I were to say, "Hey, I'm going to put this thing inside your body that's going to cause lifelong changes for you, and now you have to nourish it with your body for 9 months." That's a much bigger thing. Like you couldn't equivocate and be like, "Oh well, look, it's kind of like the same thing because like for a kid, you got to work for him anyway, right?" Like people wouldn't be happy with that, I don't think.
Yeah, sure. I mean that's like the weaker of the other. There's another point that I
what's
thought
the other
about
point?
that seemed to make a little more sense was that the dependency thing is like predicated on the idea that well I think you could make an argument that like if you in 2019 when you know that having sex makes babies or whatever, it's not hard to argue that if you're gonna do that, you should be ready to potentially have a baby, and that you can't argue that like, oh, it's not my responsibility to like take care of this, or like I can like just abort this kid because I wasn't ready for it. I mean, you'd make an exception for rape, I guess. That's like a little weird, but right, like if you're gonna have a kid, then
what if they're using like birth
or if you're
control
gonna
and
have
shit
sex
and it gets through like,
I mean, there's still a risk, right? I think it's something that's like pretty easy to understand, is that if you're gonna have sex, you should having a child is a risk you're taking. And so in that case, you wouldn't be able to argue that like you can remove this child from you because it's dependent on you, because like when you decided to have sex, you sort of
no, I agree with that argument. I use that argument actually. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, okay, cool. I mean, it kind of looks weird when you get into like, well, what happens if someone gets raped? Can you abort them? Because like only one person, initiated the sex, and the other person didn't want it, and then it's like, what can you do about that? That doesn't. It ends up being kind of weird, but
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to use that argument for cases of rape or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, that was the only serious question. I have some other good questions.
As long as it doesn't
So,
do with
first of
abortion
all-
or veganism, go for it.
Oh, I even had an okay. Well, I have a thing about. Well, I wasn't gonna bring up veganism, but I have like an interesting point that I could have brought up, but I guess not. Okay. First of that, I got. I guess two meme questions. All right. First one is, I need you to pronounce my name. All right, because it kills me every time I hear.
Kartoffelkopf?
Yes. Okay. Thank God. Because every time you say it on stream, you say like Kartoffelop.
Well, basically, I kind of like look at the first few letters, and there's way too many there, so I just make some shit up. Cartello, fucking whatever, yeah.
Look, I think I don't even have. I have like the capital on the second K because it's kind of, well, it's one word.
You have way too many
German,
letters in your name, my dude. That's
no,
like
okay.
fucking 16, 18 letters. How many? Have you counted them?
I think it's like probably only 12.
That's a lot of letters. Hold on. 1, 2, no way. Is this only
Okay,
12?
13,
1, 2,
my
3,
bad.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Is it not 13?
It is 12. Where do you get the 13th one from? Listen, it's just too many, okay? Let's look at some good names in chat.
I'm pretty sure
this guy's got 3 letters in his name. Rjax. He's only got 5 in his name, all right? Ubershark. That's 2 words. They make sense. What is a
What's a Kartoffelkopf?
Kartoffelkopf. Yeah, what the fuck is that? P's and F's don't go together like that. That's not right.
They do in German, all right? It's a German word, and it means potato head.
Speak German right now to us.
I actually do know a little bit of German.
You have a German name and you're not even fluent in German? What the fuck?
I'm barely borderline proficient. I know some words. That's basically it. I mean, I'm not gonna like try and pretend I actually speak German and say like some stupid shit, but okay. And then the second question was, when are we gonna get the Death Grips stream? When are you gonna listen to all the Death Grips music and finally realize that, you know, maybe Death Grips is pretty good?
2 years from now.
Is that ever gonna happen? 2 years from now, for real? I'm pretty sure I would almost bet on me having asked this 2 years ago and you giving a similar response.
Well, now you can come at me in 2 years and call me.
I think it's worth it. I watched you struggle to watch like Illmatic like 3 times, okay? And I think you can do it with Death Grips. I believe in you.
Okay, I'll think about it, okay? Be careful.
Yeah, all right. Nice talking to you.
Bye.
I'll maybe think of some more questions and come back later. All
Okay,
right.
be careful.
See ya.
Herpopotamus.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Hold on, let me soy up 1 second. Wait, actually, hold on. Go to the next. Hold on, I'll pull you in 3 minutes, okay?
All right.
Okay, hold on. Let me run to commercials and get a drink. Hey, guys. If you don't like these fucking ads, fucking sub, you fucking worthless freeloading piece of shit. All right, you're back in.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you going, buddy?
I'm real fucking good. All right, I just want to ask real quick, what's your opinion on the DNYC?
Okay. Good job. Good job, Mr. Mooten. Good vetting.
Hello?
Hello, what's up?
What was that? What did the last guy ask about? I don't...
DNYC is these nuts on your chin.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Hopefully
I just
you're
had
better.
a question.
What do you got?
I think, well, based on your previous answers, I probably know the answer, but so for the people in like India that run like scam calls, right? I remember you saying that you don't necessarily place like the blame on them, more so on kind of whoever's running it or whatever. So is that kind of correct?
Kind of, yeah, man. It gets. Here's the problem. I would like to blame people like that, but the problem is like I don't know where that line of responsibility would stop if you were to say like they should take fault for that. Like then do we start blaming like Chick-fil-A employees for like the stances of the CEO, or do we start blaming like people that work at the mall because Nike, you know, gets product from child labor or whatever? Like, I don't know. Like that gets like really weird, I think.
Yeah. Well, so my question would, tangentially related, would be people that work in oil and gas or like the mining industry.
Oh,
like,
I saw you ask this question in chat earlier. If they're
Yeah.
responsible for global warming.
Well, obviously not like not like they are solely responsible for it, but what kind of or what level of kind of blame or responsibility do you put on these employees?
I mean, I don't think you can. Otherwise, it just gets so weird. Like, does everybody that works in like car manufacturing also take blame for that, or people that work in agriculture? Like, I don't think you can. It just gets really weird.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would tend to agree with that because I'm biased and I work in those fields. But I guess like wouldn't the counter argument be, so for the people in India, I think like you mentioned, these people, it's not kind of the sparsity of work, and these people kind of just turn to these jobs just cause. But I guess for oil and gas and mining, like these are like high paying, like require like a lot of education. So I guess like wouldn't a counter argument be that these people aren't necessarily in like
dire
spots where they have to-
situations. Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah.
you were to use that argument to save the Indian people, then you wouldn't be able to use that argument to save like a petroleum engineer. I don't know if that's what you do, but I mean, like I don't. That wouldn't be the argument that I would use. I'm not sure if you hold like individual actors accountable for like structural fuck ups. You know, like if we have a structure that exists that enables the extraction of petroleum from the planet that might contribute to climate change, I don't know if I hold accountable the individual actors in that. Or more so say like, well, the entire structure needs to change. Because it doesn't seem like a very realistic, and I could be totally wrong because my history is shit, but like have large structures like that change just because like all the people stopped participating? Or was it because of like wide scale like revolts and political movements, you know? Like did like some corrupt like system stop because like, oh, well, look, all the, you know, people just stopped doing it, you know? I don't think that things seem to work that way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could think of an example where that actually happened either. And then obviously, I don't think it's realistic.
Mm-hmm.
I think like it's just interesting that these people kind of, I guess not. It's not like anything crazy, but there is like kind of like a light stigma, I guess. Like if you talk about working in like oil and gas or mining, if you're speaking, depending on what person you're speaking to, you might get kind of like a side eye, like, oh, you work for Exxon or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that, but I mean, don't automobiles contribute like 30% or 60% of like all the pollution in the U.S.? Like anybody that you talk to is probably driving as well. So I mean, like,
yeah, that would kind of be the line I would go down into.
yeah, exactly. Or even you could even flip that around and it's like, well, actually, I supply petroleum or gas or whatever, oil, and that's my job. But like, we actually need that. Like, we were not going to stop burning all oil, but at least I like bike to work, which is more than what you do, right? I mean, like you could even flip that around in some ways. Like, I don't know. I think it's dumb to hold individuals working jobs accountable for like massive structural problems.
Yeah, and even if you try to point to like alternative energy or whatever for oil and gas, there's still similar sectors like mining that is not. I don't really see a way that that's going to be replaced anytime soon in terms of just resource extraction. So yeah, it's just kind of an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Also, out of curiosity, how much do you know? This is not related, but how much do you know about geophysics, if anything?
I know that there's like the core and then the mantle, and I don't know why. What specific are you asking?
No, I was just curious, like if you knew anything about it. It's just like it's like essentially applied physics, like for the purpose of imaging the subsurface, usually for economic reasons, not always, but.
Oh, so like finding like shale deposits and stuff like that, or.
Yeah, or mineral deposits that like controlled source electromagnetics, and also a lot of people there's gravimetry that's used to find mineral deposits, which a lot of people, when you say like people use gravity to find mineral deposits, it kind of throws them for a loop. But
wait,
yeah,
use gravity how?
So for
wait, can I guess?
Pardon me?
Can I guess? Is there like a higher density for these types of like minerals or whatever? Okay.
Yeah, like lots of mineral deposits have anomalously high densities, so they take these extremely high precision gravimeters, and they do surveys with them, either airborne or on the ground, and you can essentially detect these anomalies, and it gives you essentially drilling targets along with other geophysical methods. So yeah, it's just kind of a cool thing that people don't really necessarily know about.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, that's all I had. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks a lot, buddy. Be careful. Lickin', what do you want?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm pretty good.
Not bad. Hey, hold on. Let me mute that so I don't have that feedback. Anyway, so 2 questions before I get to what I want to talk about. This isn't antagonistic. It's genuinely just something I thought of when I thought of this topic.
I love it when you open with this. I'm not trying to be antagonistic. Okay.
Well, I'm not. No, I just because I could ask this like, all right, I could ask this and be like, hey, why do you feel this way? And then it's like, you're trying to be a dick, but I'm not. Shut up, Kona. So why do you debate? Is it to win or to progress the dialogue around a topic?
Mainly the latter. I like to find out what the most correct position is. I like to be the most correct about a position. and I like to have the most correct position. Those are like kind of all the same thing. And then also like a side goal is I'm kind of hoping to persuade some people to my side. It's not my primary goal, but it's something that I've been focusing on more and more.
But you're persuading them to your side because you feel that is the right side after you've put in the work to evaluate the situation, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. If you know, so you're debating someone and you know that they are articulating something, but you can reasonably assume that they're not saying the point they actually mean. So they're either inarticulate, they are, you've heard their arguments before, or just kind of out of the jumbled mess that they're throwing at you or just throwing out in a video. If you feel that you can ascertain what they're trying to say, do you feel that you have a responsibility, like for the sake of intellectual honesty, to stop, say, hey, are you trying to say this, clarify, and then address the point rather than tear them apart for the misspeak?
Yeah, I tried it. What you're doing is it's called the principle of charity, right? Where if somebody says something that's kind of dumb, I usually try to restate their argument, or I try to reform it so that I'm attacking something that makes more sense than if they misspeak or something. Yeah, I don't usually care to attack people on like misspeakings or whatever. Like I don't. That's really boring to me because I don't know. This is stupid. Like people sometimes will come to me like, "Well, you said this, oh, like you said you would never have sex with a 20-year-old if you were 30. That's you said that," and it's like, okay, like maybe in one clip, in regards to something else, but like I've spoken at length about this like a lot before. Like if you want to know my position, like it's out there. Like I've spoken quite a bit at it. Yeah, I'm not usually interested in like grabbing like one-liners and trying to crucify someone for it because it's like usually a pretty big waste of time, you know.
Okay. So, you remember that video? I can't remember the guy's name, but it's the dude he made that kind of apex social justice warrior video.
Oh, the quartering?
Do you know which one I'm talking about? Yeah, that's the guy's name.
Yeah.
So I saw that when you were making your response to it, and the thing what I felt is when you listen. So let's take something completely not nearly as inflammatory as discussing the genders of fucking robots in a video game and talk about Diva. You remember what they did to Diva, right? The Overwatch team.
I know. What do they do to Diva?
So Diva was a StarCraft hero, right? Like
Yeah.
she was a GSL champion. She was the super elite gamer. It was a StarCraft player. And then they go back and they retconned her and they took away that lore and said no, she absolutely had nothing. Like they actually made a post and said she has nothing to do with this, and they just kind of completely removed StarCraft out of her background. Why? I have no idea, but they did it, right? So
Okay.
it's one of those things that, like, what I'm getting at with this is the guy's point in the video. I think there's some. I don't think you are immediately an alt-right, you're anti-progress, etc. if you question the motives behind action, right? There was that commercial years ago that came out with Cheerios. It was the Gay Dads commercial. Do you remember that? And that caused a little bit of stir because that was like 2011, I think, maybe something like that. It was a long time ago before we really started going through this progress. Someone sat in a boardroom and said, "Hey, here's this idea. Here's the commercial." They screened it and they took a weight and they said, "This is what it could possibly get us." And it's very likely, very possible that someone for years beforehand was coming with the same idea and it's like, we're not ready for that yet, right? Like they take these situations, they evaluate, and they make a decision based on how they're going to move forward and get benefit.
Yeah. Sure.
So I look at the same thing when I see this. I don't have a problem with there being a gay character or a trans character or whatever aspect it is. But what I do have a problem with is contrived efforts to.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Why do you have a problem with contrived efforts to make games more inclusive?
It's not the inclusivity, but it's not the inclusivity. It's my cynicism about intention.
Sure.
So
what is your
intention?
cynicism about intention?
So if they create these characters, right? And I say, okay, cool, you've created this entire litany of characters. And I'm focused on Overwatch. You create these characters. Like Soldier 76 was just announced to be gay. If I walked up to the creator of Soldier 76 2 years ago and said, "What is his sexuality?" Like the idea.
Yeah.
Granted,
So let's say he says originally we weren't going to make him gay, but then we decided it would be better for inclusivity and diversity and shit, so we're going to make him gay. So what's the problem with that?
There is technically no problem. Like I can concede that 100%. I can also concede the importance of inclusivity and diversity. I can say how it progresses ideals.
Wait, so then what do we disagree with?
The disagreement is I still see a problem with it. Like I see a problem with it on the.
Wait,
I see a
so
problem
what's the
actually
problem?
more. All right, the problem I see is more the criticism of the criticism. So I say, why'd you do that? Just because? Yeah, okay. I think that was kind of stupid. Like, but why? Because diversity is good. Why would you care that anyone put diversity in and act that, et cetera, et cetera? It's like, did you do it because you wanted brownie points? Did you do it to actually progress society? Did you do it to pat yourself on the back and say, hey, look what I did? Like,
sure, so maybe this is my consequentialism speaking. Let's say that you've got a guy on the street, and let's say that there are two homeless people. One guy walks up and gives him $100. The other guy walks up, gives him $100, and films it and puts it on Instagram. Were one of these people better than the other person?
No, but I have a problem with the guy who did that. Like,
Why?
there was this social experiment where this dude was really dumb. This dude's sitting on a sidewalk, and he dresses like he's homeless. He has a camera planted, and he's giving away money to people and filming their reactions. Like, hey, I think you need this. Like, it's a very dumb thing to do that, and then highlights like all the people that are really dicks to him about trying to give away $20. I also have an issue with the stolen valor people that go out of their way.
Wait, hold on. Stolen valor is way different. Way different. Okay.
No, it's the intention of the action of recording it to get the reaction, film it, post it. Like, why are you doing that? You know, if you want to call someone out for they're wearing dog tags when they weren't in the military, go up to them and say, hey, what are you doing, guy?
I'm uncomfortable with this. I'm uncomfortable with this because I think that for the stolen valor, I think you can make an argument for why people record it. Some people get pretty papega, like kind of dumb about it. But like, I mean, if only one person walked up to you and called you out for stolen valor, you probably don't give a fuck. But if somebody records it, well, now you have to pay attention, right? So I mean, like, I can see arguments for that. I'm just saying that like at the end of the day, I mean, like again, like so I view things through the framework of like consequentialism. Like, what are the consequences ultimately of any particular action? And for like the business stuff, like let's say like. It's kind of like one of those things where like let's say somebody you know, has a more diverse cast and makes things better for their, you know, more progressive values, blah blah blah, and then at the end you're like, oh, the person only did it to make money. It's like, well, okay, I don't care. Like, I mean, the end effect was pretty good, I think, and in this case it's probably like a decent like outcome. Like if somebody's doing something to represent, you know, more sectors of society so more people become invested in their product, I mean, I would argue that's a good thing.
So I think you're right. I think what I disagree with is the idea that criticism can't be laid against something without there being some negative social impact or a negative social standing.
Well, like the thing is, like the criticism, it just doesn't make sense. Like if you say like, well, they're only doing it to make money. I mean, that's true of like any business, right? Or...
I think that if someone was doing it just to make money, that wouldn't really bother me. Like
okay, wait. So what is the central focusing? What is like the central criticism you have, like stated in a few sentences?
The central criticism, it depends on the situation. Like the fact that it sounds like what that video the guy was going through, the idea that someone went through and said, let's make this a super diverse cast. Like, it's not the idea of diversity. It's the idea of contrived diversity. Like, are you doing it? I want to know intention. Like,
Okay, hold on, let's, because there's a lot to unpack here. Let's in like one or two sentences, like what is your main criticism?
You're right.
Yeah,
let me take a second to. I think my main criticism is that forced diversity for the sake of diversity. No, that's wrong.
Because it sounds like that is your criticism, but then when I force you to say it like that, you realize like, well, fuck, maybe this sounds kind of shit. No, like maybe diversity is okay, like.
It's not that diversity isn't okay. I fucking have zero problem with there being any idea behind, you know, whether it's diversifying the race. Like you have 10, you're gonna make sure that hey, there's some of different races, some of different sexualities, some of different background.
So what's the problem?
So I think the idea is that if someone, well, fuck, man, look, when you put it in the context of hey, if it makes the world a better place, what's wrong with it, regardless of what their intentions
wait,
are?
let's just go back. Like, what, ignoring all that, like, what I'm curious, like, what is your central problem? Like, you say like forced diversity, but like everything about a fantasy.
So that would be my problem. Like, if
but everything about the world is forced, right? You can either have forced diversity or forced non-diversity. Like, forced implies that somebody is like doing something, and I mean, it's a fake world, so all of it is being created. So like everything is being forced. Like, so.
I guess the idea that someone just said. Well, we haven't done anything crazy lately. Let's make Soldier 76 gay. It's like, why? Wait.
So what if somebody said, okay, well, we've got this whole group of people. Let's keep them all straight. Like, is that okay?
But then, no, I'd say, why are you having that discussion?
Well, because, I mean, you have to decide at some point if you're making a lore of characters and you're going to include, like, a backstory, you probably have to decide, you know, their sexuality.
Right. And I can totally take the idea of, like, hey, Soldier 76 backstory wasn't fully developed. We had the idea of the character origin, but hey, you know, we hadn't gotten into anything personal like that. And I see the benefits. So it's one of those things that also, here's the other thing. A short couple sentences. I have an issue with the idea that this can't be talked about without a negative label being placed on someone who has a dissenting opinion. I think that just because it is a positive doesn't mean that it can't be discussed, that intent and motive can't be discussed, that someone can't take issue. It's just being like, that's kind of annoying that you just went back and said that. Like, did you actually mean that? Did
Well,
you
like, that's the
wake up
question is
one day
why is it? I'm trying to get the why. Like, you're giving me a lot of like, this is bad or this is annoying, but I'm trying to figure out like what ultimately, what is your problem? Like, what is the irritating part about it?
It's I think that's it. Like, I'm trying to find a better way to articulate it.
Because
But
like,
it's the
well, I mean,
idea-
like, I feel like I understand the problem, but you don't want to say it. Because like, I don't know, like when I look at like, let's say that I'm playing like Overwatch or whatever, and then it comes out that like, oh, one of the characters is gay, then it's like, okay, I don't really care. I mean, I don't care about the lore of the game, but like if they come out and they're gay, I think like the irritation is like, well, why does he have to be gay? Because you already assume that everybody is like straight by default. And now if somebody comes out as gay, it's a deviance from what was expected, right? Like, well, why would you make this character gay or trans? Like, what the fuck? The character should be straight. That's what normal people
Okay,
are.
so
That's
no.
what
I think
everybody
he's
is.
accusing
What you just
Blizzard
said
of being
and what
fake.
Archwolf just said kind of coincide, so I want to address that. No, it's not that they should be. It's that
Well,
yeah,
but like
if
you
can-
earlier, so I'm trying really hard to tease out what's inside your head because I feel like we're having problems getting it out. Because earlier you said something like when you talk about making a character gay, you said like, why are you even having a discussion about this? When you say that, it makes
No. That was about when you said about the straight. So when you said like they came in to say, hey, we're just going to keep these people straight. I'm like, why would you even discuss that?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So when you say why would you even discuss that, what it sounds like you're saying is in your head, well, by default, everybody's straight out anyway. Why would you even have a conversation on whether they're gay or not? Everybody's already straight. That's what it sounds like when you say
it's
that.
more just that. So with the Overwatch thing, it's that it came out. Was this the intent all along? Was it just we hadn't gotten around to coming to that? Was this for the character development? It could be a completely like. So let's fucking say this so that people.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know,
So
chat
let's
can
deal with
calm
that.
down.
Maybe they changed it
Like-
like mid-season or whatever. People do this with video games and movie characters like all the fucking time.
But
Shit
what I'm
gets-
saying is like if I'm upset about that's why I brought the Diva thing. So let's circle back to that. What I brought up with that is I'm annoyed that they changed Diva from a StarCraft player to just some ambiguous gamer. Why did you do it? You established a clear fucking lore, and then you said no, not anymore. So now we're something less inflammatory where I can't be labeled as someone that just wants him to be white and straight. Like that's annoying to me. Obviously, I have a bias because I love StarCraft, but nonetheless, that's a not as inflammatory a topic. It upsets me that it just suddenly they
Sure,
decided.
and I can understand
she's
if you retcon stuff, then sure, I can understand. Like retconning, like if that was your whole argument, if you would have opened that, we were talking about like retconning stuff is stuff that you can be annoyed about, depending on why things get retconned. Sure. Now, like if you're doing like a whole reboot of a franchise, like the new Star Treks or whatever, I don't know why you'd complain about retconning there. But but yes, like a retcon is something I could agree with. Now, as far as I'm aware of, I don't know if like Soldier 76's story was ever retconned. Hasn't he just kind of
No,
been
it
gay
wasn't.
forever?
It was the idea that someone just decided one day to change something. Like, yeah, the assumption is that you're going to assume, and I am trying to find a way to word this very carefully. You are going to assume that Soldier 76 is a straight man. Like, it's not because of his masculinity. It's not because of the fact that you just assume that every man is straight. But I mean, at the end of the day, if I meet a guy, I'm going to assume the guy's straight.
Okay,
Like,
why?
If I met you. Well, did I meet you before or after? No, you were dating someone when I met you, so I knew. But like, if I meet a guy, I'm going to assume that he is straight.
Wait,
like
maybe
the
lesson.
like let's argue statistics.
Okay,
and
wait,
not-
no, because you're making the whole argument that I just said earlier that you believed in, that you said you didn't believe, and now you keep making that argument, right?
No,
You're making the argument of heteronormativity, right? You're making this argument that like, well, the default is straight. Like, why would you deviate from that? Like, if I meet someone, they're going to be straight.
No. I'm not
That's
saying
it.
why would you deviate
You
it,
keep
but I'm
saying you say
saying-
no, but you
No,
keep making arguments
it's
for
the
it.
baseline. It's the
Okay,
baseline.
you
So
just
I
made
start-
another argument for it.
Hold on. Let me try to clarify this.
Okay.
It's not the idea that I want him to be straight. That's what it should be. Why'd you change it? It's that you presented these characters to me, and without any further context, I am going to assume.
Okay, but maybe we just shouldn't. Just don't assume people's sexuality. Is that like hard to do, or?
What? To what degree am I allowed to look at the situation and say, "Oh, like, damn."
For me,
Steven,
the only time I assume somebody's sexuality is if it's somebody that I'm trying to fuck. So like if I'm
I've
talking to a
never had
girl
someone-
or if I'm on Tinder or whatever, I'm gonna make an assumption that this person is interested in me, especially like on Tinder, this person should be interested in men. Or if I'm talking to a girl and I'm I'll start to make my intentions clear, like, hey, like I'm down to smash or whatever, and if she's not, then I'll be interested in ascertaining her sexuality. But if it's like a random person that I meet, like if I meet you or if I meet somebody else, like I don't know if you're gay or straight or transgender. I have no fucking idea. But I don't think I need to know that. I don't think that is like a part of your personality that I need to become acquainted with.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. So if someone, my only issue with it coming out is if someone like truly, if I knew their intention, right? And this might go back to the comment you made about money. If I knew their intention was genuinely, no, I just wanted them to be gay. But if I knew they were trying to make a political splash, trying to make a social splash, trying to force, saying, hey, we need to make more gay characters because it's going to help progress society, I'm like,
why is that bad?
I mean, it's like, yeah, right. I know. Goddamn.
Well, I'm asking.
Like, no, it's a good point because it is like, why should I? Maybe this is just me coming to terms with the future, right?
Howdy,
Like, I have no problem with gay
is
people. I've
now a
never,
tier
in
1
any, like,
subscriber.
no part of my evolution. I used to be really Christian, used to be anti-gay marriage and all that, but I was never anti-gay. I was never.
Yeah, listen, I'm busting your balls like super fucking hard here, but everything you said, probably even 5 years ago, like I said the same shit. Like intuitively, it feels really wrong. Like, well, why do you have this character that you've made gay? Like, there's no reason for this character to be gay. Like, you just did it because you want to score political brownie points. Or you're trying to be progressive or whatever. Like, you need like, and I would say this constantly. In fact, I would even use an example. Have you ever seen the show Dexter?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember the gay assassin killer guy that Dexter meets like season 6 or some shit?
Well, no, actually, I've watched that show like 5 times. Which one?
Wait, you've seen all of it? The guy that wears the suit is gay.
Yeah.
He talks about a boyfriend in one of the episodes.
Oh fuck! Hold on, let me Google this. Unless someone check can help me find it faster.
Fuck, I don't remember what the name of
off
this
top my head.
guy's character is. Is it this guy? Isak Sirko?
Yeah,
Isaac's-
that was the first result when I searched "gay Dexter assassin."
Yeah, this guy's gay. You didn't know
Yeah,
that?
I don't really remember. I don't remember that.
Okay, so
too
like
well
that used to be my argument. I would say like this is a really good gay character. Like they make him gay, but you don't even really know about it. And he does all of his stuff, and being gay isn't like a central part of his identity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I used to use this as an example of a gay character or of a well-written gay character. But like when I stop back and I think about those arguments, basically what I'm saying is like a good gay character is the kind that I don't know he's gay and I don't ever have to deal with his gayness, which is like a pretty shitty thing to say because like if I'm watching like a straight thing, well, like Dexter being straight is central to a lot of the movie, right? He gets with Rita, he's got like the family, he has the kid, his straightness is like shoved into my face for the entire fucking movie. There's multiple sex scenes in the movie, or I'm sorry, not the movie, in the show. Like, so like it's kind of strange. Like going back, I can see why. I know why I made those arguments.
Bust
but,
my
like,
balls,
it's
daddy.
actually
Bonus
like
me.
a pretty like.
GG chat is funny.
Hold on. It's actually like
Got ya.
it's like a pretty homophobic argument to make where it's like I'm okay with the gay character, I just don't want to see him being gay ever because I'm really not actually that okay with gay people or gay characters. Not that like I hate gay people, right? People always like want to jump. People always want to jump to like, oh, like you're super homophobic, like you fucking hate gay people. Like I've never hated gay people. Like even when I was Christian, I don't think I hated gay people. But like what I was saying was like on further reflection was actually kind of homophobic, right? Like the only gay people I'm comfortable with are the people that I don't know that they're gay or ever see their gayness,
I can agree with exactly what you're saying. And I'd say even as you said that argument, like there's a part of me that was like, oh, like I'm beyond that. I get it.
Yeah.
I think it's the idea that someone did it just because, whether to score brownie points.
Yeah,
for
but again,
themselves,
you
to
have to
make
think
themselves
like
feel
I don't think you really believe that. And like I would say I would implore you to think of these arguments and then kind of run through them on your own because like I don't think you believe that. When you say like I think they're doing it just because they want to do it. But if I were to say like, okay, well what if we had a movie with like 10 characters and like, oh, we should have like a few black and Hispanic people here just to like even out the cast to have more representation. Would you say like that's horrible that you should have kept them all white? Or would you ever really have a problem with that there?
No, I wouldn't. I think one of the issues is that, and this is kind of a sidestep but somewhat related, one of the issues is that talking through these things helps, right? Like I never would have.
Yeah, sure, I agree.
I never would have changed my view. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hold on, wait. I'm sorry, real quick. I just want to real quick in chat. I think your original argument is still valid. Dexter's heterosexuality isn't the most important part of his character. When you look at how, for example, Loras and Renly are showed in Game of Thrones, they are just reduced down to their sexuality as characters. That is absolutely not true. Loras and Renly do have things that they do in Lord of the Rings that aren't 100% tied into their sexuality. And in Dexter, his heterosexuality is absolutely one of the cornerstones of his character because his relationship with Rita, which is a heterosexual relationship, is literally the cornerstone of that show up through season 4. And then the fact that he he births a child, has a son, and then his relationship with the crazy lady, whoever that he ends up giving his son to at the end of the fucking show, right? These are cornerstones of the whole Dexter show, right? Like without these relationships, like the Dexter show almost falls apart, like, or like it would have to be a totally different show. So I mean, like I think that you're kind of blinded to like when you live like where heterosexual relationships are the only thing you see, you no longer see them. You just think like, oh, like heterosexual relationships aren't that important in Dexter. Well, hold on, wait. The whole show is about his heterosexual relationships. What do you mean? Okay, sorry. Go. What were you saying? Yeah, it helps to talk about things. Yeah.
Well, so that's the issue though, is that for me to come here, like just using, I love chat. I'm part of chat. I'm in chat 90% of the time. But to see like the criticism thrown at me when I'm just trying to articulate a point and have a genuine discussion, that is that spiral of silence. Because instead of wanting to have this discussion, to work out my opinion, to understand your opinion or your perspective, etc., to not want to do that, it's the spiral of silence. Because rather than come to you and say this, hey, let's talk about this publicly in this public forum, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna save the ridicule and keep it to myself.
Yeah, LGBT communities online are literal fucking cancer. They're a scourge on the fucking earth. LGBT people online are the worst fucking advocates for LGBT shit in the fucking world. They're incredibly fucking hostile. I understand why it's like hard to deal with, but yeah, I mean, it's really annoying. Like if you try to have this conversation with a lot of LGBT people, you're gonna get screamed down as being homophobic, like relentlessly. It's really fucking cancerous and really irritating to deal with. Yeah,
and it is, and it causes a problem. Like it does stifle this conversation, and I think there could be there could be a more divided line, or a seemingly more divided line than there actually is, just because people are so unwilling to talk. So people sit in their group and say, well, I can't talk to them because they do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I understand.
And I think that
if you've ever watched, do you know who ContraPoints is?
Is that the transgendered lady from Baltimore?
Yeah, you should say trans woman or transgender lady. Don't say transgendered. You'll get in big trouble. But her videos are really, really, really good at breaking down a lot of stuff like this and addressing both sides of stuff. And you can tell her videos are really good too, because a lot of LGBT people hate her. So it's her videos are really good at breaking down this stuff and making it understandable to both sides. I would highly recommend, if there's ever a topic that she covers that you're interested in, watching her videos is very good. She does a very good job at it. Yeah.
See, that was a very nice way to handle that, because I didn't know that. Like, to me, transgendered, to say transgendered woman, I was being completely PC, but apparently not.
Yeah, well, so there's a lot of stuff that goes around like language norms, but basically like if you call somebody like transgendered, it's kind of like a little dehumanizing. Like if I were to call you like people do this to other people. Sometimes for heterosexual people, they'll use an insult to call you like a breeder. Like when you use like these kinds of terms, like you're a transgendered, it's just like it's kind of, even if you're not intending to do it, like I used to do this, right? It's just like a shitty way of referring to somebody. It's a nitpicky thing, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, do I say black or African American? Like, sure. And then
it's African American, not black, but
then I've had black people say, "Don't call me."
No,
that.
Yeah, you're right. It's very weird. It should be African American, but some people say black because they think African American means you're from Africa. But technically, the reason why African American exists as a term is to recognize that black people's history in the United States is like a very unique one that makes it so it's really hard for them to specifically know like what kind. So, for instance, like if I were to ask you like what kind of white person are you, usually you could say, "Oh, I'm Polish, German, blah blah blah." Like you can just say that, right? You have like a European ethnicity. But if you ask black people in the United States, they don't really know. They're African American. They're like a mishmash of like different African things, and then they don't actually know where they came from because their families were brought over on slave ships, right? That's technically why like the term like African American is used. Although some people don't like it because they think that implies that you're not American, or some people say you should just use black. I mean, I don't know. You could probably argue with different people.
Black, real quick. The reason you should use black is because not all black people are from Africa, right?
What?
Yeah, there are people who have black skin that either arrive from the Caribbean or...
Well, yeah, of course. Well, you sure. If somebody is like Nigerian and comes over from Nigeria, you shouldn't call this person African American. But if you're like a black person in the United States who has like generations
from Nigeria, you could be okay.
But isn't that Africa?
Wait, no, wait. No. Wait. Somebody that comes over from Nigeria to the United States, you wouldn't call them African American. They would be Nigerian. Wait, I'm sorry. Holy fuck.
I think you're assuming for some reason that Nigeria is like not an African.
What?
Anyway, I'm gonna.
No, wait. Okay, hold on. Oh my god, I thought you were making me sound like Nigeria was in fucking South America. No, if somebody comes from Africa to live in America and they're Nigerian, you wouldn't call them African American, right?
You might.
I don't
Is
think
the argument
so.
that you should call them Nigerian instead of
Yeah, you would call them
African-American?
either Nigerian or like a Nigerian American. Okay, this is my understanding of it. Jesus fuck, you made me think Nigeria was in South America. I thought I was saying some real dumb shit. My understanding of it is that African American, that broad catch-all term, is supposed to be a way to encompass the identity of a black American whose family can be traced back to being brought over from slave ships, who doesn't know what their country of origin is. They're just African American. They can't say like, oh, well, my history is in, fucking whatever African country, Algeria or Chad or some shit. Like, they don't know. They're just African American. But like, if somebody from like Sudan or if somebody from like fucking Algeria or Kenya comes to the United States, you wouldn't call like a Kenyan that comes to the U.S. You wouldn't call them African American. You would call them like a Kenyan American or something. That's my understanding of it. I could be wrong, but
that makes sense. But I think you would probably mislabel them if you didn't know, right? Like if they don't have an accent. Or
sure.
English,
Yeah,
no,
in
right?
general,
So,
you should probably just say black because you don't actually know. I can agree with that, right? You instead of trying to guess somebody's African.
Everything you just said, including that last bit, is correct.
Okay.
Right, and that last bit is what I came in to say, basically.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. You should probably just call somebody black.
Exactly.
Yeah,
sure. It's the most accurate term that you can use in a lot of situations without having the requisite information.
You're younger still, right? Aren't you like 24 or something?
Yeah, about.
It's kind of weird for me because I think when I was growing up, black was like the rude way to do it. You were supposed to say African American, so it's kind of weird. That's actually changed, I think, in like the past decade. Unless I'm crazy,
yeah.
But I remember growing up, like calling people black was kind of like taboo. It was almost like colored a little bit, not quite as bad, but almost like you weren't really supposed to.
Yeah,
say
no. That was even within my lifetime. This has been a very recent.
Yeah, but yeah, so black, but yeah, okay, cool. All right, yeah, gotcha.
All right, I'm hopping out. Peace out.
So before we go, because I do want to kind of go down that road real quick, but before we do, to go back to the original, I've had this thought before, like where I'm just processing it in my mind, working it out myself, that maybe I just shouldn't get upset about it. Like maybe it shouldn't bother me in any way, shape, or form, because at the end of the day, it's a net positive, right? But I think that even when I dilute it down to that it's a net positive that people are going after diversity, that are attempting to hit every check in the box. There was this diversity stream on Twitch a couple years ago, and the thing that bothered at me is that the message sounded, and of course it could have been through my biased ears filtering it this way, but the message sounded like a game company that doesn't actively seek to ensure that all games come out with a certain level of diversity, or that their AAA titles don't come out with a certain level of diversity, that they are not as good as game companies that do, as far as what they're providing. And I feel that that's unfair. Just like I know this is going to kind of,
and it's one of those things that like basically what you're being asked to do here, and it's very fucking difficult, is you grow up with like a fuck ton of assumptions in your life, and being forced to kind of address those or admit that some of those assumptions are unfair is a very fucking hard thing to do. It is insanely fucking difficult because most people go through life without questioning any kind of like fundamental assumptions they've made growing up. So like when you look at like, well, when games come out, they have to have a certain level of diversity. I mean, like games have to have a certain level of anything anyway. Like you have to have a protagonist that's of a certain age, that has certain backgrounds, that has certain struggles, in order to make it relatable to people that watch your shit. Like you couldn't make a game about a carpenter that just builds houses and then he goes on like an action adventure, right? You have to like make the story relatable to people. You have to do things that make them representative of the audience. Like these are things that have always been done, but for the longest time, if you're like a straight white male person, everything has always appealed to you. Always. It just always has. You're always the default in every movie and every video game. It's always that. So when people start being more inclusive of other people, it feels weird because you've never really thought about this before. Like, I'm not saying you to mean you. This includes me as well. Again, because I used to make the same fucking arguments you're making on stream. Like, unironically, you can still find videos of me doing it. Like, not even like 6 or 7 years ago. It feels weird because for the longest time, like all of society was built around reflecting you, and then when it starts reflecting other people, it's like, well, hold on, wait a second. Why does it have to reflect them? Like, wait, why do you have to do this diversity? Why? And it's like, well, I mean, why not? It's always been you.
I think that. See, I completely agree with everything you just said. There's no part of me that doesn't. I think it's the idea that like someone releases a game and this is the game. Like, what if Apex Legends had been released? I think that was one of the other parts that bothered me. It wasn't necessarily the gamers' intention, but the expectations of society. Where that guy was reviewing that article that said something to the effect of like, the most important thing about the game is its diversity or something like that.
I mean,
And,
like
they're-
people that
they're
go
what-
crazy on that shit, I think are dumb. Like diversity is our greatest strength. It's like this is probably not true. Like our economic mobility in the United States is probably one of our greatest strengths. Like our economy, actually, economic mobility. Like there's a lot of things. Like our fucking nuclear armaments and our military are probably our greatest strengths. Like I don't know if diversity is our greatest strength. I mean, like yeah, people go too fucking hard in the other direction. I don't think the most important part of Apex Legends is this fucking diversity, but I do think it's an important part of it. I think that having that kind of like social push is really good, but.
I think it is understandable why that's beneficial. Like, there's not even a why it would. It is beneficial. I get it, and I imagine that if I was a homosexual, or if I was, am I allowed to say homosexual? Like, is that still unallowable?
That's okay. Or you could say a homosexual person, but
Jesus Christ, if I was gay, if I was a member of the LGBT community.
Wait, real quick, just to reflect on that again, because it's another weird thing. So, for instance, you would never refer to someone. You would never say like, "Oh, him, he's a heterosexual." You would always say like, "Oh, he's like a straight guy," or "He's a straight." Well, no, you might say like he's straight or he's gay.
Yeah.
Those are okay, but you would never say like he's a straight or he's a gay. He's a gay. He's a straight. You would say like, "Oh, he's
I would
straight,"
never
or
say
he's
a homosexual, not he's.
yeah,
I would say
or he's a homosexual
not-
person, right? Or like
Yes.
yeah,
Got
or
it.
like he's homosexual is okay, but he's a homosexual. He's a
But I
homo,
mean, at
right?
the same time, I mean, don't we say he's a minor? He's a.
Yeah, but those are properties that aren't like
longshoreman.
necessarily like discriminated against, right? Like for instance, like if I were to like it's funny because like for things that you don't care about, you don't think about it as much, but for things that are brought to your attention more, you would immediately hear this. So I walked up to you and somebody was like, "Oh, who's your friend?" I'm like, "Oh, he's a black if I were to say something like if I'm like describing someone, I was like, "Oh, he's black," you would hear that a lot differently than me saying he's a black, right? Like that would sound really weird. If I were to refer to him like, "Oh, John, he's a black." Like if you would hear that, like you would immediately like, what do you mean like he's a black?
Oh yeah.
Like yeah. And then same thing with like, "Oh, he's a homosexual." Like as opposed to like because you would never say like he's a heterosexual, right? You would say like, "Oh, he's a straight."
Yeah.
He's straight or he's a straight person. Yeah. Okay, sorry. These are like really like finite like quibble things or whatever. But yeah, okay.
But no,
good.
I mean, at the end of the day, they add up, and it makes sense to address them. And it's, it's one of those things that. Look at that, right?
What you're making up these rules on the spot and making communities look bad. A homosexual is still in, even if you're gay. I disagree with you. And I've heard enough to know that like that you're not correct there. I'm almost positive you're not correct. In the same way that I would never call someone a transgender, I would never call someone a homosexual. Right? You would say like they're a homosexual person or he's gay. Like there's something when you set it off with the is it an art? I don't know what you call the A, but there's something different when you say like, "Oh, he's heterosexual" versus he's a heterosexual. These are two different things, right? Like yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I forget where I was going with all that, but yeah. So it's one of the it's a difficulty within myself that overall I have a knee-jerk reaction to be upset. I say why, and it's not why because it upsets me that the choice was to make Soldier 76 homosexual. I'm just using him because he's the most recent. It's not the why because he's gay that bothers me. It was, I want to know your intention. If you say that's just his story, man, I have zero fucking problems with that. But it's the idea that you did it for some self-serving or self-righteous or just because motive, that it's like, it's not because, okay, you changed this guy from straight, which is where I think he should be, to wherever. It's more just, well, what is your motive? Because to me, motive matters. But should it? Because at the end of the day, it makes someone else feel better because they're like, hey, you know what? That Soldier 76 is gay. I'm some fucking kid going through puberty, not really understanding self. And it's like, hey, this video game I play is helping me because I know that character, this badass fucking shooter is the same as me. I can really fucking understand how that's going to make someone feel good. And I can't be upset with that at all.
Sure. Yeah.
So then it's like, well, shit, what do I have to argue about? Maybe I shouldn't argue. Maybe I should just shut up and play the video game.
Okay,
I don't know.
sure. I don't think motive matters, but you're close. Okay. I love you, bro.
We're close. All right, man. You have a great day.
Yep. Peace out.
Bye.
I really don't think a homosexual is like a black. In my mind, I can never imagine somebody saying like, without it sounding like kind of dehumanized, like, oh, John, he's a homosexual, right? Like that. Like if somebody were to say that, it would I would immediately hear it and be like, what do you mean like he's a homosexual? What do you mean by that? Like it just sounds different than saying like, oh, like he's homosexual. Like there's a difference. I wish I knew like. If I had like a bit of background in linguistics or whatever, maybe I could explain why. I know that a lot of this is kind of like a subconscious way that we kind of like refer to people, but people say that all the time. Yeah, and people used to say the N-word all the time. I mean, what do you mean? I hear people calling people they're gay. Well, saying somebody is gay is fine. Like and again, gay is actually the perfect word. If somebody was like, "Oh, John, he's gay," it sounds a lot different than John, he's a gay. Like they feel very, very, very different, right? Myra, what do you want?
My dude. Hold on, let me mute the stream. Okay, so I've asked you this question before, and I've never really gotten a serious answer from you, so I would kind of hope that you'll give me a serious answer. So over the last like 6 months or so, you've grown like quite a bit as far as like viewership numbers and stuff. And I just want to know, like, where do you kind of like draw the line as far as like growing your community and like still being able to interact with chat correctly, or not, but like in a good way, have like a good community built and stuff like that, to where, you know, like when you have a 20,000 viewer, 15,000 viewer streamer, chat is just like cancerous spam. Just like,
I think even at like 8 to 10,000 viewers, like my DGG chat is still pretty manageable. So I mean, like, I don't know, I usually just keep tabs on that. It's like, I think the DGG chat is like a good filter. Like if somebody's willing to take the time to like link up an account to my chat and chat in there, they'd probably have something that's more worth reading than the deluge of shit in Twitch chat.
I thought it was deluge.
Deluge.
Deluge. It's deluge.
Oh, okay.
There you go. But
so I guess the follow up to that is, do you feel like there's a point that you could get to where even your DGG chat is like gonna become too spammy? Because I mean, when you have like 10K viewers for a debate or something like that, it's almost impossible to read it because it's moving so fast.
Maybe, but I mean, like, I don't know. I don't think so. I think that I would have to give it way, way, way more viewers. I think that I've done a good job at like getting rid of like shit spam. So like during debates, the chat gets like pretty extreme because people are reacting to stuff. But like during like non-debates, like I think the discussion is normally pretty good. Like I don't have like any of the cancerous fucking. I think the main reason why chats become unmanageable is because people are okay with like cancer spam in their chats. So like for instance, like if we look at like Greek God X, like 90% of like what's going on in this chat is like all like shit spam. Like there's not like any good conversation happening here. Like I don't even think people are talking about the game in here. Like I see like shoot the cash register, like, or when I say talking, I'm thinking like having a conversation, like it's all like just like meme spam and shit.
Right.
Or then like if you look at XQC's chat, like it looks pretty much the same, right? Where like your goal is to just basically like spam the fuck out of like memes in chat, and like that's the whole point. Yeah, but I think I've like
go on your knees.
I think I've pretty aggressively like moderated against stuff like this. And it seems to work out pretty well. Like even Jake and Bake only has 4,500 viewers, so around what I have, or maybe 1,000 less than I have, and I think his chat is less readable than mine right now. Like I don't know what's going on in here right now. Like I can't really follow this chat, right?
Have cuffs
right.
on me.
Well, I guess if you keep playing League, we won't have this problem either way. So
yeah, there you go. That's the easiest way to call the chat. Only keep the real fans around.
Can I ask, or can I give you one meme anecdote or whatever?
Yep, go.
So listen, all right, I am not normally this socially adept or like inept. When I sent you that email, I swear to God, that was fucking Mr. Moon. I had a conversation with him, and he told me to send you that email and basically beg you to put me on your host list. I am not an aught, okay? Okay, I just want to make that clear.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
That's all I wanted.
I love you, buddy. Be careful. All right, what's up, buddy? What do you got for me today?
Hey, buddy. So just from the lyric convo, do you think critiques of inclusivity for the sake of attention or using culture as a reason to prevent immigration, do you think most of those are disingenuous and just covering up a dislike of diversity, or do you think people are genuine in their opinion?
I can't say most. It would really depend on who you're talking about. Like if it's like somebody that I know is like Lauren Southern, any critique she makes, I'm gonna say like she's covering up her white nationalist bullshit. But I think it is possible to come from a good place and to try to be a reasonable person and still come out with a lot of these really dumb critiques because you failed to like self-analyze something, like some inherent bias that you have that you're not aware of or something. I think that's possible.
All right.
I only say that because I know that like I've put forth a lot of the arguments that people do today, like unironically, and I know I've never, at least since I've been 16, I've never hated gay people ever. Like I've been cool with gay marriage and all of that, but I've still made a lot of the identical arguments that people use against like representation in media. And I don't think that's because I like even secretly hated gays. I think it was more just like I didn't stop and consider like a perspective where it's like, well, how could this be perceived as like homophobic, or how could this be like exclusionary? Like it was stuff that I hadn't ever really considered before.
Right, but wouldn't you say that was because you lacked introspection and not because somebody should walk you through it? Or no?
Wouldn't you? Wait, what? Why are those mutually exclusive?
Well, like most of it comes from introspection, no?
A little. It has to be guided. I mean, you can't just introspect your way to like secular progressive values. Like a lot of it, you have to have like outside influences to kind of push.
Well, I wouldn't say progressive values. It's just like including diversity.
What are you asking, or what are you saying?
Well, because you're saying like you have to be guided to progressive values, and I was just saying being against diversity, like in a game cast, for example.
Well, I mean, like you could be against it because of like dumb reasons that you think are okay. So things like forced, like when you say things like forced diversity or stuff like that, like what do you mean?
Well, wouldn't you say like forced diversity like has to come from a place of being disingenuous, because it doesn't make sense otherwise, no?
I mean, I think it does. I mean, I can see why it does. I mean,
no, but I'm saying unless you introspect, like it makes sense like as a nature, but upon any introspection, it doesn't. No.
I mean, I guess maybe we're using the term introspection differently. Like people's abilities to be introspective are going to be hardcore informed by how much they've actually learned about it, right? Like being introspective is one thing, like reconsidering your own positions, but you have to have tools by which to like do this, right? Like you have to know like, well, what does it mean to be introspective, or like how can I do this in effective ways? Like I don't think just telling someone like go introspect and then they do it and they come back like, oh shit, I was wrong. I don't think that'll happen a lot. Like people could introspect and become even more racist depending on how they do it, right?
Oh sure, yeah. I could agree with that definition. I guess I kind of take issue though with you saying like the LGBT community's cancer.
Sure.
Don't you think like their defensiveness is warranted, like any other minority group, because of so many disingenuous actors, like
yeah,
cloaking
it could be,
their
sure.
hatred in.
Yeah, it doesn't change what I said at all, though. You're just giving excuses for why they're cancerous. But I mean, yeah, it could be warranted. Yeah, when you have people, especially as an LGBT person, you have to deal with so many fucking bad faith actors online. I can understand why the temper gets like very fucking short very quickly. Yeah.
Well, don't you think cancerous like carries with it like a morally loaded connotation? That,
yeah.
Like maybe like you should just say like defensive or overly sensitive, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we don't have any more.
What?
I love you, buddy. We don't have any more disagreement.
All right, be careful, buddy.
All right, Dan, you're in.
What's happening, my brother?
What's up, my brother?
I'm doing well. How are things going for you? I enjoyed your gun debate.
Did you?
Yes. Anything you would change going back, doing it differently? Hey, how about some motivation? All right, I'm in here talking to you, giving you my time.
Yeah?
Some enthusiasm would be nice.
Oh, you don't get any enthusiasm from me. But let me think. Things I would do differently. Probably like having my own binder full of shit would be nice, I guess, if he's gonna do that.
I was thinking about one thing there. That guy, I'm not wrong, but he was he hated black people, right? 100%?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, so do you think just his solution to gun violence was to make it so blacks can't have guns anymore?
Maybe.
Okay, not
or not,
that you
or maybe get rid of blacks would be more what he would want, probably.
Okay, so one or the other. So hypothetical question, and not that you would ever agree to this, but and it's a little bit of a loaded question, so think about it. So what do you actually think would happen
if I were to suggest like a policy?
No. Like,
okay.
Well, I'm saying like if tomorrow, I obviously this is complete bullshit, but essentially, if you could create a law that blacks couldn't have guns anymore, what do you think that actually would do to gun violence?
And you're assuming the law was followed like 100%?
Yeah, like 100%.
Like, well, I mean, I imagine gun violence would probably fall pretty significantly, right? African Americans commit a disproportionate amount of gun violence in the United States, so, right?
So I was thinking, is there a better way of doing this that's not racist? And I think I have the answer, and that's poor people can't have guns anymore. There would have to be a massive tax to have gun ownership. Would you be against that, considering that would follow your logical reasoning of wanting to protect lives in the United States? That would obviously do it. There's very few.
Right now is the problem isn't necessarily like I don't think you would have to keep poor people from getting guns, right?
Well, I think you would. I would say probably 95% of gun violence, if not more, is done by poor people. With the exception of suicides.
So the problem you have right now is that there's already like a fuck ton of available guns in the United States. There's like over 300 million firearms that exist right now. If you were to make all firearms that are legally sold more expensive, I don't know if that would necessarily keep them out of the hands of poor people, because they might already be able to get access to one illegally, or they might turn to those methods more. Also, I don't know if
Okay, so what about not the firearms? What about if we had an insane, like, what was it, Chris Rock ammunition tax? So, like, essentially, each fucking bullet is something like $100 or $200 per bullet.
When you make stuff like that more, when you make stuff like that more expensive, isn't like the black market going to step in and start supplying that shit more as well? Like, won't you?
Well, that's a thought, right? If you're so fucking desperate to get a gun, to do something, to rob a store or something, wouldn't you first be, by nature of virtue, wanting to sell the ammunition you already own and get that money versus going to the next? I mean, I'm proposing the question. Do you think?
I mean, like, my answer to all of these, like, you're basically asking me to evaluate like the whether or not this would work. I don't know if this would work, but like if it would reduce the amount of gun violence, then my answer would be yes. I don't know if it would actually work. I'm not sure, because these are like insane hypotheticals, right?
I don't think it's an insane hypothetical. It's literally one thing. What about if we put a tax on ammunition of $100 per bullet? Do you think that would significantly decrease?
I don't think. No. It might have some decrease. I mean, it would have to, but also I feel like a lot of ammunition would start to be sold like on the black market. Like you would get it illegally imported and shit is what would start to happen, and then maybe that would lead to more crime because now you've got more money flowing into the organizations that you don't want money flowing into because they've got a new way to make money, right? So I'm not sure.
I don't know. That seems a little far-fetched to me. I think if there would be such a tax on ammunition...
It seems far-fetched that if you make something illegal, like the black market will provide it? Where do you think all drugs come from?
No, because I think that what leads to a higher price, even on the black market. Like pot, if you think about it, is no different, not that much difficult to grow versus pretty much any other plant of a similar type. You know, you put it in a greenhouse, you do it. The reason the price is so high is because it's illegal in the United States. You know, you have places where it's legal now, like Colorado, but it's still taxed high in Colorado, so the price is high. What I'm saying is that by creating an artificially high price, you're going to keep it out of the hands of more people as a result of that. You can't get it easily. If you have it, you're going to be, and you're desperate, you're more likely to sell it than to use it.
Maybe. I mean, if that's how it ended up working out, then sure.
Well, I mean, to me, this seems like the most reasonable prospect.
Well, you say reasonable, but this is all like really fucking complicated, right? Like you're talking about like a war on guns, and we've already tried like a war on drugs, and that failed fucking miserably. So like, I just don't know if like, oh, well, here's a huge fucking tax on bullets, and now people won't do each other. I don't know if like other people will start to step in and like just sell that instead on the black market instead of like people buying it from gun stores. Is like my problem.
Okay, but don't you think this is the most possible thing that we could implement? Like the solutions that you kind of presented on the gun debate didn't seem realistic whatsoever. No,
things like like closing the private sale loophole, making it so it's illegal to sell a firearm privately to somebody, expanding powers to the ATF. I think these are like pretty reasonable, easy things to do.
I think, well, those are somewhat reasonable. But as far as the idea of banning specific, the thing that wasn't reasonable was doing like health checks and checking with things like that before you could get.
Oh, like more better psych screening? Why can't we ever do that?
Well, because I think that would keep people from going and getting therapy. I mean, if you told me if I went to a therapist when I was feeling really depressed or something along those lines, that might keep me from ever getting a firearm in the future, I think that would keep people from going to therapists and would have more damage than good that it would do. Like you're telling therapists that now they have to report on anything and you'll never be able to get a gun if this happens. Why would you?
I'm just not sure if that would actually be true. Because like, for instance, like therapists have to report if you're suicidal, but people still go to therapists when they feel suicidal, right?
Sure, but what are the possible outcomes that you can have from that? That doesn't keep you from any real long-term.
If you get, you'll get what's the name for it? Not impounded. But you get committed to something against your will. Yeah, you can be held against your will in a psychiatric institution if you get reported as being a threat to yourself.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that can happen. Absolutely. Is that on the NFA form? I don't even remember. You know what I'm talking about when you buy a gun and they give you that form and you have to fill out the 20 check marks. Have you ever been involuntarily committed to a psychiatric facility? Do you know if that's on that?
I am not sure. I don't know.
Interesting. Well, I think the tax is probably the most ethnic safe way of doing this, where it's not specifically targeting anyone except poor people, which obviously commit most of the crimes.
Okay.
What else do I got? Since apparently this is multiple question. An important one for you. If you remember back to your Twitch ban, you were very nervous, playing it very safe, watching what you said, all that shit. Do you think that you've become more lax on that now, or do you think you're still very cognizant that if you fuck up, you could be hypothetically on your last legs? Or is that not the case anymore, where you can fuck up?
A lot more comfortable now because I have like my lines of communication at Twitch are much better now than they were before. So I feel more comfortable.
So for instance, if you were to drop a gamer word right here, you might still get banned, but you don't think that that would be a permanent ban for you?
No, it would be a month ban.
Do it.
Why would I do that? I just
do
took
it.
a month vacation.
Prove it.
I don't need to take another one.
Yeah, it's what is this Twitch stance on driving with streaming right now? Because it seems super fucking dangerous.
I don't know. I don't say anything about it. Fuck them.
You're okay with endangering people's lives, Steven?
I mean, we all do it every single day. Yeah, fuck them. I'm very curious if the same people that are like, people get like very adamant about like, you should never like text and drive or blah, 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 which I mean, for a lot of people, you probably shouldn't. But I mean, you also should never have a conversation with someone in your car while you're driving either. But nobody would ever say anything like that, right? I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's when I talk about driving, especially with Americans.
Isn't talking and driving the same thing? Like it's on the same level as like drinking and driving. Like you're impaired. Like that.
It can be,
I think
depending
it's
on
only
the
if you
type,
hold it,
depending on the
right?
type of conversation. Yeah, it
Yeah.
can be. It can be more taxing than diverting your eyes from the road to have a conversation.
Wait.
Yeah, so like a lot of people in chat like that are saying entirely
don't
different
know,
things.
yeah.
Are shitty drivers that have no fucking idea like what goes into driving, right? Having like a detailed conversation with somebody, or especially like an emotional conversation with somebody while driving, can be more distracting than a lot of other things. Also, driving while tired after a certain level can very easily reach like the same levels of impairment as driving while intoxicated. But people are also a lot more lenient on that as well. So I mean, like it's whatever. I don't fucking.
There's a big difference between driving and talking hands-free versus holding the phone up to your head.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that.
You don't?
No, I don't.
There's probably a little bit, but I think like you're still fucking impaired, like heavily.
I don't think that's the case, actually. I think
mean, like,
there's a significant difference.
Like, you can eat food and drive a stick shift at the same time. Like, it's not that hard to do it. Like, the most important resource while driving it isn't your eyes, it's not your ears, and it's not your hands. The most important resource is your attention. Yeah. And a lot of people like think that a lot of people mix up like attention of your eyes or attention of your like hands or whatever is the same thing as like your actual attention. But that's the most important thing. Yeah, so I mean, like, it's very easy to distract yourself while you're looking at the road and your hands are on the wheel, but you're talking to somebody, you're not really thinking that much about what's going on, like to be more passive than active while driving. So
a lot of newer cars have like a new like program or whatever built in that'll tell you if like you're getting tired by like giving less attention to the road. They like watch your eyes and shit.
I have no idea, maybe, but.
All right, last thing for you. Do you think it's more important for the Democratic Party coming up here to try and get a very liberal candidate who's doing a lot of the things that you guys want, or do you think it's more important to not do that so as to energize the Republican Party and instead get someone who's just kind of a moderate, a Biden or something, if you will? So what do you think is better?
I think American people want some pretty extreme, like I think like things like single payer healthcare like pull like really well with all Americans right now. It wouldn't surprise me if like paying for education for everybody pulls well as well. I would have to look those numbers up though, I'm not sure.
But don't you think it's extremely dangerous for the Trump 2020 odds of, or whatever the fuck it is, of basically putting like someone that would completely energize all the Republicans out there? Like, fuck, you don't like Trump, but you're going to get some fucking like trans activist unless you get them. I mean, like, why would the Democrats want to do that versus 100% being able to probably get someone in who is just kind of tame? Do you think
I could be wrong, but I feel like in all of our recent examples of American politics, people trying to play moderate positions end up getting absolutely fucking shit stomped. I mean, like McCain got absolutely fucking shit stomped, and that was the Republicans' attempt to like come to the middle. And like fucking Hillary got absolutely fucking shit stomped, and that was like the Democrats kind of sort of trying to like meet in the middle. Like, I don't know, just the idea.
So
of, like,
you think it's completely worthless to try and pander it all to Republican voters? You think 0%
no, fuck that shit.
of
No, just
none
energize
of
the
that?
fuck out of your Democratic base, and you can probably win. You can probably
Well, I mean,
win that way.
Trump's Republican approval is only 90%. You think for those remaining 10%, you're like, fuck them. We might as well just not count them and hope to get that 10%.
No, because in trying to be moderate and energizing those 10% of or whatever fucking Republicans, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose a lot of the support from a lot of your Democrats that aren't gonna want to go out and vote.
And they'll go vote fucking third party or some shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like.
I mean, that's kind of what like a lot of people weren't energized to go out and vote for Hillary, right? Comparing it to Obama is kind of not fair, but I mean they weren't.
Yeah, but this situation is kind of fucked though. Like, if you put this like super Bernie fucking candidate in, I feel like you're gonna lose a lot of wealthy Democrats.
I don't think I don't think most of Bernie's positions, like on like education and healthcare and shit, are as extreme as like that might feel.
No, but his fucking tax plan was pretty insane last time he was running.
Did he actually publish an actual tax plan?
He did. It wasn't it like almost 50% taxes for some of the higher brackets. I'm not talking higher brackets like you're making $1 billion a year. I'm talking like you're making over $1 million a year.
Fuck them.
Yeah, okay, you say fuck them because that's the stupid fucking peasant way of acting it, but these are the people who buy fucking ads on TV and keep these people from making it or not making it.
Well, like your real worry, what you'd really have to worry about, fuck that, whatever you just said, fuck that shit. Your real worry would be capital flight is your big issue, because you don't want people that you're taxing higher to just take their money out of the U.S. That would be like the real thing you'd have to try to find a way to stop. And I don't know what the correct answer is to that. You'd need like multilateral trade agreements to enforce that type of tax law.
Is that even possible remotely to do? Like
No,
that,
sure.
you're talking about like world law saying that I can't take my money out of the United States.
Pretty
That's
much,
not
yeah.
something
You'd have to enforce it via the WTO or something. People like Ireland need to be held accountable, yeah.
that seems very unlikely to have happen.
Yeah, especially because wealthy people are typically the ones that are funding.
Well, no, I mean, this is the fact. Wealthy people make the fucking rules, and you're basically, by putting some candidate, like I think a lot of people in chat want, you're going to divide the Democratic Party. At least that's how I feel.
Moderates don't win elections. I don't think this happens. Moderates just don't do well. Like, I don't think that's the idea of like putting a moderate in is going to help anybody. It's going to de-energize the Democratic base, and it's not going to pull Republicans over because Republicans see Democrats as fucking commies anyway. Like,
of the past presidents we've had, how many would you classify as moderate versus extreme?
I mean, like Barack Obama was black, which is pretty extreme for a lot of Republicans, right?
I think I would classify Barack Obama as a moderate.
Really?
Besides being black. Yeah. His views were not like super like...
No,
anything.
compared to somebody like McCain, no way.
Okay, McCain, sure, was more moderate.
Also, Destiny, I'd point out that I don't think that you're making assumptions essentially about the source of democratic energy right now.
Okay.
In my view, and this is backed up by I think the whole of the 2018 cycle, is that all of the democratic energy is coming from Trump. It's not coming from any particular candidate.
Well, you say that, but if we end up with a very lackluster or boring candidate, I think that energy will disappear very quickly. But or rather won't be channeled in the ways that it could be. I mean, that's not to say like Trump will always energize hatred. I mean, it's easy if you have a common enemy, right? But if we end up with some real shit lackluster candidates, I could see a lot of people being less motivated to go out and vote, thinking nothing will change.
I have an example to sort of counter, I guess.
Sure.
And I haven't met this guy now. I think I've only met him like 2 or 3 times. He's a congressman from New Jersey, a guy named Andy Kim. He ousted a congressman named Tom MacArthur this last cycle. Now, I had met Tom MacArthur several times when I was in school and also when I was at NBC. And let me tell you, funny guy, not great policy stances for his electorate generally, but he had held the seat and Republicans had held that seat for, most of the last few decades. I think Democrats at some point won it for like a cycle or two. But Kim was a pretty milquetoast candidate. He won. And the reason he won is because Trump. That's really it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'm kind of talking my ass. I guess I'd have to see more polling data. We'd have to see it. But like, I guess like my general feeling is that like if somebody like a Bernie gets through to the finals, I feel like you've got like, not only do you have that energized hatred of Trump, you've got like a candidate that people would love to rally around. But like, it feels like if somebody like a Biden or somebody,
you wouldn't want to run like Martin O'Malley or some shit.
Yeah, or something like that. People would just be like, meh. Like, they'd still really hate Trump, but man, I feel like the energy around somebody like that would be way, way, way less.
Yeah, I don't think Biden is a great example, but to your broader point, yeah, probably.
Yeah, maybe not. I hate Biden. Why do people like Biden so much?
Wait, why do you hate Biden?
I just don't like him. I don't know. There's no reason.
Is there a reason behind your hatred? Or?
It feels like people just like him because he was Barack's VP. Like,
didn't he do a lot of shit like in Congress prior to Barack Obama? I don't hate Biden. I just don't know enough about him.
His legislative record of like getting stuff passed, everything was like pretty shit.
I mean, he was a senator for a pretty long time. I'm not sure what his record on actually getting legislation passed was. I mean, he was around like in the 90s and shit. So
he voted for the Iraq War. Didn't like everybody fucking vote for the Iraq War? Weren't we like pretty together as that?
Yeah, pretty much. America would have attacked pretty
So
much
like
anybody.
bringing that up is pretty fucking.
Real question though, like we had the two extremes. We had Hillary versus fucking Trump.
Wait, Hillary's not extreme. She's mod.
Moderate.
Hillary's very moderate.
Republicans, that was as bad as it fucking got. It doesn't matter what position.
If we were to put Trump and Bernie on like a map,
I think
Hillary would fall pretty close, slightly to the left. Like Bernie was a very progressive candidate that had a massively progressive voting record to back it up, and like has no problem calling himself like a fucking socialist.
I'm not saying about the moderate thing. I'm saying about energizing the Republican base. Like the number one most hated, get people out to vote fucking candidate was Hillary Clinton.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And the Democrats lost that. And you're talking about putting someone up that's arguably going to be even easier for them to go up against, which is going to be someone like Bernie.
I don't know, dude. We'd have to look at the numbers.
I don't think Dems were
like
excited to vote for Hillary.
Also, I feel like
They
Bernie.
weren't.
I feel like Bernie's positions are just like the positions seem to pull well. And I mean, if he gets his rhetoric out there, like people like the idea of free education. People like the idea of single payer. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't disagree that people like that. I very skeptical that we're going to win this time doing the exact same fucking thing we did last time.
I don't think we're doing the exact same thing as we did last time. The biggest problem that the Democrat Party made last time, in my opinion, was completely and totally fucking ignoring the progressive existence in the Democrat Party. Holy shit. Like, it didn't even exist. And I don't think that's going to happen again, especially now with people like the AOC making it in and being like, making such a splash and everything. Like, I think I think the Democrats will be paying more attention this time around.
I stalled. What were Hillary's like actual positions? Like thinking back on it, maybe I'm like just forgetting. I don't remember like a single position that she like brought to the table that was like different or like anything. You know?
I mean, honestly, her platform was by the end of the primary. Her platform did resemble Sanders's,
because in every debate she ended up moving over on every fucking issue that he
Bernie.
pushed.
Yeah.
The whole debates were basically like somebody would ask a question and Bernie would be like, "This is my thing," and Hillary would be like, "Yeah, me too, except mine's even better." That was like every fucking question.
You're right.
Which, like, that's the argument against close primaries, right? Because that really just weakened her in the general.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I mean, she was. I don't know. It's hard to remember, but I think she was pro TPP, then anti TPP. I mean, they were all fairly standard, like middle of the road Democratic positions. There wasn't really anything too crazy, except there might have been like a community college plan or something like that.
I feel like I remember Bernie's positions really well and like Trump's positions because they like
their rhetoric was very strong. They were very simple, yeah.
And Hillary was like, "I have hot sauce," and
Pokemon go to the polls.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that Hillary was a shit candidate. I just don't think everyone else was like, oh yeah, if you put Bernie in, we would have won by now. I just don't think it's the fucking case.
I think Bernie would have won.
I think Bernie would have won.
Okay.
It just seemed like everybody was tired of like going from like president to president.
Yeah, it was like an anti-establishment election.
No,
Bernie was super
like
populist.
young people that we talk about, I think would be definitely agreeing with you. People who fucking buy the ads on TVs and do this shit. No, they weren't fucking thrilled about being taxed 50%, going up like from 39 or whatever the fuck it is to 50. No, I think the spend would have been way down, and the individual contributions don't mean shit compared to like how much money Hillary raised. And even then, she fucked up. I think you guys are like delusional on this shit. If you run someone who's gonna fucking take way more fucking money from me, I'm not gonna vote for that person. I'm not saying I'll vote for Trump either, but still, like, why are you putting us in that fucking situation? Why can't we have an incremental change versus literally, hey Dan, guess what? We're gonna have free healthcare, but also we're gonna double your tax
that's
rate.
probably what would have happened. It's not like Bernie would have walked into Congress and have been like, all right, guys, day one, 50% tax. Like, that's not going to happen, right? It would be incremental.
I mean, that was his fucking tax plan.
Those types of tax, you know, those are never surviving Congress. That's not going to happen anyway, right?
I don't know.
How
can I support someone on? Okay, you're saying
I can know this because Trump had plans, and even with Republicans filling both sides of Congress, he wasn't able to get hardly anything of his fucking agenda passed. So I mean, like, I would say that like chances are Bernie wouldn't have been able to pass like a comprehensive like overhaul fucking of the tax shit. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, like even taking out the 2018 cycle, and assuming that they could get some backing from Republicans, which they couldn't for these sorts of plans. Do you think Democrats like Manchin are going to come out and vote for this? They're not, because their districts wouldn't allow it. They get voted out of.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, senators and congressmen still need to get reelected in their own districts as well. Like, I don't think a 50% tax was ever going to come like anytime soon.
I mean, I guess, but then you see the blind fucking allegiance that Republicans have to Trump right now. Basically, I mean, with the exception of the wall, passing but the most unpalatable fucking shit that they do, I would be concerned. That you don't think Democrats could have that level of elite?
They could. I just don't know that Bernie captures this type of energy. It's just not the same sort of like fanatical energy. I don't think. I could be wrong there.
So you think Trump has more energy than Bernie does?
That's not quite what I'm saying. It's I would say it's more that the energy is different. Like we've seen some Bernie people get disillusioned with him over the last couple of years after his candidacy kind of stopped. And I mean, that's happened to Trump as well, but I feel like it's happened to a much lesser degree there.
I guess one anecdote that doesn't really matter is like my mom was willing to vote for Bernie instead of Trump, but like fucking hated Hillary Clinton. And my mom is like very fucking far right. So I don't really know why that is. They just fucking hated Hillary.
Populism appeals to all
so do you feel like Bernie is the best candidate so far that's announced?
I haven't researched them enough to know, but I mean, like Bernie is pretty chill, so. I mean, assuming he's got all the same positions as last time. I still don't like his protectionism shit, but.
Meaning what?
Like, because he seemed pretty anti-free trade, anti-globalist, in terms of like economic shit.
I suppose. I mean, I guess we'll see where it's gonna come down to.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for my bullshit. Okay. Fuck everyone in chat calling me fucking stupid. What have you retards done? Literally fucking nothing.
Whoa.
Damn.
Listen, Dan, we all know that you just want to keep your money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's how most people fucking vote?
Yeah. No, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying we all know.
He's like, yeah, you're right. All right, I'm bring the next person up.
Don't worry, Dan. If we take all your money, Yang Gang will give it back. $1,000
$1,000 a month.
That guy has
$1,000 at a time.
Hey, wait. One last thing before I go. All you guys who love Andrew Yang, I just want to let you know he has so little chance to win. He's not even on the betting websites. Do you know who's above Andrew Yang? Fucking John McAfee. So cry yourself to sleep. It's never fucking happening. Yang Gang can suck my you-know-what. Fucking
once I get him, if I get him on my stream to talk to him, that'll change, okay? People will love him, all right?
$1,000 a month, everybody.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he's already qualified for debates, hasn't he? Like the first
he needed to
qualification,
raise like he needed like $20,000 or something, right?
Some
he has
bullshit.
$65,000 right now.
Guys, I'm gonna love it when he gets fucking out. All the Yang Gang.
Are you gonna give me $1,000 a month, Hark down?
Yeah, well, I know who's not gonna give it to you. This guy who's not gonna be fucking president.
We'll see about that one.
You know, maybe for Steven's sake, hold the shit talk until after he comes on the podcast next week or whatever.
Listen, I mean, it's a fact. You have to, I mean, a real question to ask this guy is going to be like, why are you doing this? You know you have zero chance of winning.
That's not a fair question. I mean, Bernie had zero chance when he started. What did he make his announcement to? He was on like a podium in the grass with like 20 people. No, like literally nobody around the country knew who the fuck Bernie was.
That's a fair question to ask of why you're doing it. You know you're not going to win now. Are you planning on winning next year? Where are you going to go?
Well, no, wait. Bernie had a real shot at winning though. Bernie made it a lot farther than anybody ever thought
he was never close to winning the nod. He was not even remotely close. If you lose by 40
not
points,
remotely
you
close,
didn't almost
you're
win.
lying to yourself if you thought that Bernie would have gotten as far as he did. Was he ever going to win with like how fucked the South was? Probably not, but he made it way fucking farther than most.
What is your definition of got as far as he did? Because
my definition of got as far as he did
what that
was
says to me is he just didn't drop out way after it became clear he would.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely stayed in for longer than he probably should have, especially after all the defeats of the South. But I mean, like, he got way more popular and he got way more media attention on his policies and being taken seriously as a candidate than anybody thought he would. Like, he was a literal fucking no-name at the beginning. And by the end of it, like, people want... he's like a fucking international
recognized name. How long has this dude been a senator?
Well, just because you're a senator doesn't mean...
Just because you're a senator doesn't mean anyone knows who the fuck you are. What do you mean? You really think Bernie was as popular? You really think Bernie was as popular as a fucking senator as he was as a presidential candidate?
No, certainly not.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think Bernie got a lot farther than people ever thought he would.
And also, to be clear, Bernie was much higher in the odds than Andrew Yang right now when he came in.
Was he?
I mean, he's much higher in the poll numbers, too. Fuck.
Like,
also, wasn't the field last time, like, a lot smaller than it is now?
Yeah, well, it feels like it was a lot smaller.
Well, the field was like fucking three candidates, wasn't it? Wasn't it like O'Malley, Clinton, and...
I think everybody just kind of like was like, okay, it's Clinton's turn.
Yeah.
Did Oprah announce if she's running or anything? I hope not.
Why?
I don't like.
Guys, there's no fucking chance Andrew Yang is top 6. Why are you throwing this? Like, obviously false. He's not in the top 30.
Dan is about to get Yang ganged.
Fucking stop. I'm gonna get McAfee before I get Yang ganged, okay?
All right, can we pull the next person down? Are you done?
Go for it.
Welcome, Gallader.
Wait, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna go talk to the plebeians in 1 second. I love all of you very much. You're all very special to me, and you're all very beautiful people. And I hope you guys come back next week, and we'll do the same thing, and I'll do it for 6 hours.
I can,
All right.
I can write down the names of who's here for next.
Fuck that shit. Okay. What's up, Ben? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Okay. I'm sorry I got like right at the end to you, and I have to leave pretty soon. But hit me up with a quick thing. What do you got?
All right. I believe the strings were pulled for quasi-realism.
Okay. What does that mean? Hit us up with it.
All right. So I'll do the scientific one, but most people do it ethically, like people who don't believe in moral facts.
Hell yeah.
All right. All right. So let's say, first of all, do you believe that there is like an external world?
I'd like to, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a decent starting premise.
Okay. I don't know if I can truly know about it, but to start from any other assumption leads to absurdity. So I would say yes, right?
No. Okay. Yeah. The fact that you don't have any like phenomenal or direct experience with it, that's what quasi-realism is, right?
Yeah. Yep. Correct.
So the idea is that there is an external world probably, but the only like one-on-one experience you have with it is like phenomenal.
Yep.
Like you have like experience of it, but it's not intimate. So out
and
of
then,
that,
wait, just so people follow wrong. So the difference is like phenomenally means that I can see something and I can feel something, but I can't truly know anything about that independent of what my senses communicate. I can't become intimately familiar with any physical object. I just have to trust what my senses are telling me about that particular object. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And so the idea behind scientific quasi-realism is, so you have no intimate knowledge of the external world, but you have like phenomenal experience of it.
Yeah.
So out of that, you build like your own like model of how the world works out of your phenomenal experience.
Yeah.
Now the question would be, do you think like maybe like the properties or objects in this experiential world that you've just built, are those not real, or are those as real as anything we can ever know?
Are the properties of the external world that I build on my qualia as real as anything that can be known? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, nothing can be realer than that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's essentially quasi-realism for science, at least. So like scientific anti-realists, they'll be like, like you can't know what an atom is. Like they don't fucking exist because you can't see, touch, blah blah blah. There's no intimate experience. But for quasi-realists, they're like, but we have a model of how we think it works based on phenomenal experience, and that our modeled world is our real world because that's all we can know.
Sure. Insofar as like, yeah. Otherwise, if we were, yeah. Insofar as any definition of the word real can ever mean, right?
Right. So you're like a moral anti-realist, right?
Correct.
So just take that like the same thing we just did for science, but now apply it to ethics.
No, I don't think you can do that.
Oh, wait, why not? Why not?
Fuck.
For the record, I'm not like, my ethics is really weak, but I think this is the only, I don't know,
good argument for ethics. So like my difference here is I think that the process by which we arrive at experiential evidence is commonly shared between all people. And can be like rooted out, I guess, in other like experiential things. Like I through testing, I know that I have like hands and I've got like a brain and I've got like neural connections and all this shit, right? Blah 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 blah. And I can like follow this. For moral fact, I don't think that process resembles that at all.
So it's because you don't have like. So like you're saying for science, you have phenomenal experience of like the physical world, but for ethics, it's not of the physical world. It's of like societal norms and stuff.
Well, I argue everything is physical, right? I'm a hardline physicalist or materialist.
Right.
But yeah, so like I don't think that like I guess like if I were to ask somebody like I want to figure out what color something is, right? Like there are certain like experiential things and data that we can collect about that, right? So like what and we can create like a framework to understand this as well, right? So like color, when you shine a light at something, certain colors of the spectrum are absorbed by it, certain colors are reflected by it. Our eyes pick up on certain wavelengths based on the cones or whatever in our eyes, right? Like we can have a working definition in all this. We can talk about a lot of these things that exist, like hopefully that exist in the external world. But when we talk about moral fact, we're not pointing to anything in the external world. Like we're relying completely on, I guess, like some a priori logic, and then like some intuitions that we seem to have that not everybody shares about what should be. I feel like the conversation is way different. No.
Okay, so actually, the argument you just gave for how we know things about like the physical world, I feel like that's the exact same way we talk about moral facts. Like, okay, so the difference was for the physical world, you made the assumption that there was like some unknown, unreachable, like underlying framework for reality, right? And then for ethics, you're making the assumption that that doesn't exist. But like completely throw those assumptions out the window. The only way we build a model of the physical world is like, through this like collaborative, phenomenal experience. Like we all see it, we all experience it slightly differently, but pretty much the same. And we build a model of the world. Do the exact same thing with ethics. That's all that ethical theory is.
Yeah, but the problem here, in my opinion, is that if I'm from a physical sense, it seems okay. Hopefully, I'm not loading this with too much presupposition bullshit. But it seems to me that our physical models that we're building of the world are probably approximating what exists in reality because we're getting greater predictive things out of these models that allow us to do more with our understanding. So that was a lot of bullshit, right? So like computers exist because of a long like process of building physical models that hopefully approximates what exists in reality, and then we're able to manipulate that information that we have to build things that are more and more complicated and complex, hopefully because we're getting a better understanding of what is real. For moral fact, I can't point to anything like that. I can't point to like a building of moral truth that like over time approximates a greater, right? Or can you think of like an equivalent to that, or do you think that's not fair for me to bring up? Or
no, I think that's a solid point. That yeah, for science we have like a predictive success because of the model of reality we've built.
Whereas like I can point like Kant like wrote like fucking 12,000 fucking pages on moral realism, and he could be just as close to the truth as anybody else, right? But if we want to talk about like a flat earther versus like somebody that understands that the shape of the earth is more complicated than that, well, we can actually like have predictive models that kind of like test out like, well, this is probably like the fact that the earth is an obloid sphere or whatever is more approximate to reality than flat earth because we like fly spaceships around the planet. But there is no way ever to test moral fact. In my opinion, it doesn't seem to be the case.
I think that's a solid response. The only thing I can think of is you're kind of you like the idea that our models of reality are approximating to the actual reality. And I mean, I feel like there's this whole movement in like the philosophy of science, like started by I forget his first name, but Kuhn, and his idea was that we just go through these revolutions and we're not approximating anything.
Yeah. Oh God, you're talking about fucking incommensurability or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
I think all those arguments are bullshit, but that's because the guy that's argued with me about them, I feel like he hasn't phrased them in a way that I feel like it's, I don't know, fuck. I don't want to misquote like Rem here, because he's the guy that argues this, but like I hear this idea that like, well, we go through scientific revolution after scientific revolution, and things that you used to call an electron now are referring to totally different things. Just because that's true, I don't think that means that our new models don't necessarily approximate reality better. Like, I feel like if you wanted to attack that position, what you would have to say is just because you're getting better results from something doesn't mean that you're approximating reality better. But I feel like at that point, you're getting into like weird, like either epistemic arguments or some other type of thing that would get like a lot more foundational that I don't even know if I could have that conversation.
Yeah, I feel like no matter the longer we talk about this, we're going to get into an epistemic problem, right? Like,
sure. I mean, like with math, like I could see people being like against like the idea that math is all circular bullshit in some ways, right? Because math is like kind of like foundationally built on axiomatic stuff, and we don't really have experiential stuff relating to math. But for observations about the physical world, like things built in physics, I have a hard time saying that like all of that is arbitrary bullshit. Or that's like the same way as like moral fact exists, because like I would like to say we've made real progress in physics insofar as we have a better understanding of the world and we can manipulate aspects of the world better. But I don't feel like that exists with moral fact at all. Right? We still have Christians today. We had Christians, 2,000 years ago. We still got people that believe certain things today, and some of them are the same, some of them are different. But
okay, I feel like the only okay, if I bought like your premises on how science is like kind of moving forward incrementally, toward being a better approximation, then yeah, I think you could totally be a moral anti-realist. Your argument sounds totally valid.
Sure.
But I have trouble buying that premise. I don't think we're getting better and better at approximating reality.
Why not?
I think on a fundamental level, I'm kind of a scientific anti-realist. But the reason I say quasi-realist is because our models are functional. And as they change, we're going to gain new function, lose old function, actually, in some cases.
Wait. Can you give me an example of that? That's really important.
Yeah.
Because if a lot of well, to complete your argument, because if we move from model to model and we're losing old function as we move to new models, then that would be a very strong supporter of your argument. We're not actually understanding the world better. We're just using different models that have different applications, right?
Right. So I know there's a modern example of it. It has to do with like classical versus quantum electrodynamics, but I'm going to sound retarded if I try to give it right now on stream.
Quantum
so I know there's
electrodynamics?
Yeah, okay. I want to ignore that one because I'll wait till I actually can read up on it again. But there's an older example that I'll give, and that's just back in astronomy. You had originally you had Ptolemaic astronomy, and what they did is they had like their model of the universe was that Earth was in the center, and you had like these crystalline spheres. And they actually had like some pretty sophisticated mathematics for how these spheres would move together with one another in order to very accurately predict stellar and planetary movement in the sky. And then we had Copernicus come along, and he was like, heliocentric model, planets are orbiting the sun. He didn't have a force to explain how it was working, but he was like, this is how it actually is more physically represented. But when we moved from that, the predictive power of the Copernican model was way poorer than the Ptolemaic model, even though it was a better approximation of how reality was working. And you could make the argument he was just missing some like extra steps, which he was.
Yeah, that would kind of be like do you have my stream open?
No, I'll fucking open it right now.
Well, like I'm just drawing like a Venn diagram. Like it's possible that like something like maybe there's like this theory exists here, or so like I'll make the old theory is like the red theory, and then like the new theory is like the blue theory, and then maybe reality is like this purple circle.
Holy fuck.
Is it up?
Yeah. You're drawing a diagram from the paper I wrote, actually.
Oh shit. Okay, well,
but you have a third circle. Wait, what's your third circle? I only have two circles.
Fine, listen, don't ever base anything you do in school on what the dumb shit I say, right? So like, let's say that we have I'm sorry, let me spell red. Let's say that red is our old theory, right?
Okay.
And then let's say that blue is our new theory, right?
Okay.
And let's say purple is reality. What is real? Okay.
Okay.
So like it's possible that the blue theory like it has more in line with what is reality. Like it's describing reality better, but maybe there were parts of the red theory that describe reality that give us more predictive power. So like
I think that's spot on.
Yeah, sure. So like the blue theory is incomplete somehow and needs to encompass this. Like in a similar way that like gravity I don't think is accounted for yet under like quantum not quantum dynamics, quantum physics, right? But like everything else in physics is accounted for using quantum physics. Like all classical mechanics can be extrapolated from quantum physics, from quantum mechanics, save for gravity right now. It's like the one thing that they have been working on for the past 50 years.
Right.
But yeah, so I think that like if you wanted to say, if you gave me the argument, just because something approximates reality doesn't necessarily mean it gives us more predictive power than something else, that could be true because of this bullshit diagram. And I'm sure you could find examples of it. Or what you just gave, that astronomy example. But that doesn't necessarily mean that like better theories can't exist that explain, like they don't have to be mutually exclusive. It's like a false dilemma, right?
That's a fucking great diagram. I've actually not seen it put like that.
Thanks. Okay. There you go. You don't do grad work for philosophy, do you?
No, I don't.
Oh, well, there you go. That's the that came from the grad student Wikipedia that I have special access to. So
no, that's a good way to put it. Fuck.
Or you?
Yeah. I don't know. Do you want to talk any more about quasi-realism, or are you done?
Hold on, let me see where my buddy's at. Go real quick. One more thing. What else you got? Real quick.
Fuck. You libertarian?
Fuck no.
All right.
Is that good? All right, where are you at? Are you in Chicago now, or?
No, I'm back in Pennsylvania right now.
Oh, back in Pennsylvania. Okay.
Yeah, shitty Pennsylvania.
Well, hey, listen, I love you. It's been fun. We'll talk more in the future if you're here next Sunday or whatever, okay?
All right. Au revoir.
Okay, have fun. Peace out. Wait, why is Irish Lady so mad? Ugh. If Destiny feels uncomfortable hosting dumb shit character assassinations of me, he probably won't care about attempts to correct them. Wait, what character assassinations did I do of Irish Laddie?
He was talking about the other guy who came in and was talking about Irish Laddie should be platformed or whatever. I don't know.
Well, I mean, he unironically says to kill capital. He did it to like excuse me like 10 times in their argument, didn't he? Like he said that he
Yeah,
would
I mean, I
give
heard
him the
Friday
wall.
like Mayocide and shit a lot. So yeah.
What the fuck?
He also made me mad because he like tried to go in the pool in next room, like to skip the line, and I was like, no.
Okay.
So.
Listen, next Sunday. Okay. Okay. Listen, I love you guys. It's been fun. Okay, so I'm cutting this short today because I have to watch a movie because it's part of my stream.
Oh,
homework.
here we go, boys.
Here we go. I'll be back tonight.
Andy.
Hey. I'll be back tonight. Okay. I'm pretty sure.
You want to play the bomb game tonight?
Yeah, maybe we can. And then tomorrow I have the Bachelor, which is a catastrophe. Do I need to like prepare a list of questions to ask people or?
Yeah, I think they're gonna have segments and stuff, and I'm gonna be on co-hosting to find you love.
Yeah, but do I need
think
to like
you
prepare
should-
questions right now?
Let me ask Claw, and then I can get back to you later tonight. Because I'm not sure. I'm gonna make them we have a wrap-off section.
What?
They're gonna rap for your love, dude.
Oh, this is cringe as fuck.
Oh yeah. Do you really want a girl who can't spit fire off the top of her head? Honest.
Okay. All right. I love you all very much. Are we okay? Yeah. Oh wait. Hold on. Wait. So the Bachelor's tomorrow. I don't think anything's on Tuesday yet. Oh wait. Oh no. Yang needed to reschedule for Tuesday. I don't know when the fuck that's gonna be. Then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah. I'm pretty.
Throw
okay.
up ads before you leave.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, buddy. Hey. You know what that snap means? If you've got a Twitch Prime, throw that shit the fuck up. Twitch Prime, Amazon Prime, Student Prime. No, actually, wait. I just ran ads on Ripperino. Okay. Ripperino, cappuccino, pappuccino, happuccino, mappuccino, cappuccino, cappuccino, appuccino. Appuccino, my dudes. Be careful. Stay safe. Hopefully I'll come back tonight. We'll talk about Captain Marvel.